A wasteland reigns all around, and only a lone young man stands in it. The young man doesn't understand how he got here. He travels through dimensions to reach the limits of human capabilities. Space travelers were above the rest of the humans, possessing martial arts skills. In the past, the boy was a very ordinary schoolboy. When it all started, he was playing a computer game when he suddenly found himself in another world, the battle-true world. The foundation of this world was the martial arts, through which masters unlocked incredible abilities. The protagonist, Yi Yuan, is the 18-year-old son of a Yi Yuan sect elder, and Xiwen remarks that he has a pretty good start. Level 3 Houtian. The protagonist is resentful because he has so much to accomplish. In a fit of rage, the guy hit a stone at a second-level Houtian expert with a stone, and Xiwen isn't happy with the fact that he can reach the level of regular NPCs by the age of 50. Suddenly, as if out of nowhere, a guy appears. The protagonist is perplexed that a stranger has been following him for over 2 hours, and Xiwen learns that John Doe is at the 4th level of Houtian and plans to go into a closed training session. The guy asks the protagonist to be more careful in training, to which Yi Yuan urges you not to worry about him. The stranger asks not to stay out late, as the monsters are especially active at night. The young man removes himself, and the protagonist once again notices the level of the unknown man. And Xiwen wants to reconsider his plan, since he's not so good at martial arts. Suddenly there was a bright flash at the bottom of a body of water near where the main character was located. She didn't go unnoticed. The hero turned around slowly. A burst of light illuminated the lake and the guy beside it, and Xiwen couldn't believe his eyes. Something had struck him to his core. He moved closer to the body of water to get a better look at what was happening. As he approached, the young man noticed that the water rumbled. Suddenly the space, near the flash of light, began to dry up, and Xiwen saw a blob of energy floating in the air. It seems to the hero that the unidentified object might be dangerous, so he has to get a grip on himself sooner rather than later. The mysterious ball of light is beginning to pulsate. Circumstances are calling for Yi Yuan to retaliate. He resolutely rushes towards this something. In an instant, the protagonist touches the bundle of energy with his hand. There are dozens of shining threads running through his body. The hero, barely able to comprehend what had happened to him, got off with a slight fright. The clot of light disappeared, and Yi Yuan found himself in freefall. In an instant, he found himself in the water, plunged headfirst into it. He barely had enough breath to breathe, and he successfully floated out. The hero was lucky to be good at swimming, therefore he was rescued. And Xiwen sat on a rock, drying his clothes. The hero was about to return home and find out what had just happened to him. Suddenly, a mysterious wormhole appears behind the hero's back. As if sensing this, Yi Yuan abruptly turns around, but it's not detecting anything. The hero decides it would be best to find out everything when he gets home. Among the lonely rocks, a house can be seen on Qingfeng Mountain. This is where the Yi Yuan sect's estate is located. It seems the hero is beginning to realize something about the mysterious wormhole, and Xiwen concludes that this space is not part of reality, but most likely being part of the hero's consciousness can open a passage to a new place. The hero notices that a special technique can be used to look into the space of his body, but the hero doesn't have it. The ball of light must be the cause of the spatial discontinuity. The character assumes that by focusing, he can feel this space. To focus, he closes his eyes. Closing his eyes, he suddenly finds himself in an unknown place. Not understanding anything, the hero is discouraged. He's excited to finally be able to get here. It seems to the hero that the dimension he has fallen into is a bridge connecting his world and some mystical place. And Xiwen can't wait to find out what awaits him in the other world. The hero is so carried away by his find that he did not even pay attention to the fact that in this world he is surrounded by nothing but emptiness. He decides to explore this strange place first of all. It's been 3 hours. After wasting a lot of time, the hero resents that the place is monotonous. Losing all his fervor, the hero decides to sit down. He notices that being here for a very long time, the hero discovers that only his spirit is in this space, and his real body is now in the Yi Yuan sect. He feels like there is some limit to the amount of time he can be here. Thinking it's safe here, the hero decides to wait for a time limit. The hero had no way of knowing the time, but felt that he had been lying for about 3 hours. The realization comes to him that the place is completely deserted, which makes him grow bored with it. A feeling of discomfort overcomes the hero, and he begins to caprice like a child. Loneliness overtakes Yi Yuan, and the hero complains about his inability to speak to anyone at all. Under the pressure of circumstances, the hero feels the need to do something. A stranger that Yi Yuan recently met motivates him to start practicing Gong is a basic technique consisting of 10 levels that the hero received for his status. The hero is enveloped in a yellow aura, and mysterious runes begin to swirl around him. He's so focused that he doesn't notice the world around him, and Xiwen realizes that he never had much understanding of the technique. But he feels as if it was made for him. He's starting to levitate. The hero floats in the air. He owns this space. While the guy was in oblivion, reality had already dawned on him. The character is still sitting in his room, however he is covered in a black shell. Suddenly it started cracking, and under the tremendous force, it broke and flew in all directions. The hero was at the limit of his powers, drenching himself in sweat. Opening his eyes, he found he was still in the room. And Xiwen breathed a sigh of relief as he realized it was only a dream. The hero suggested that the shards were the result of increased cultivation. And Xiwen, not fully understanding what's going on, can't come to terms with that fact. The physical evidence in the form of shrapnel still forces him to accept the fact that the previous night was a revelation. To test his strength, he throws a sharp, straight punch. The door shards flew out with a bang. Through the hole in the door, you can see the hero discouraged by what has happened. Misunderstanding was instantly replaced by joy. Xiwen had reached the 4th level of Houtian. The hero was amazed at his progress. In just one night, he reached level 4. He is not going to stop there, so he decides to start training immediately. The hero is plagued by vague doubts as to whether he can replicate. Closing his eyes, he tries to concentrate again. However, when he opens his eyes, he finds that nothing comes out of it. The wormhole appeared, but he couldn't get into it, though it doesn't look like it can be used once. Suddenly the hero felt sick. He experienced pain and exhausted all of his reserves of spiritual chi. The hero wonders if he really needs to use spiritual chi to get to that place. And Xiwen sat down on the bed to get some rest. True, he doesn't care so much about the fact that he has used up all his powers, but the fact that the hero can't enter this place at will. Heading to the other end of the room, the hero tries to find something. He discovers a chest. Opening it, the hero decides it's time to use the supplies he's been saving up for earlier. The contents of the chest turned out to be shiny crystals. Stones like the ones in the chest have spiritual power. Martial artists can utilize the power of these stones to replenish spirit chi. The stones are divided into 4 types, merging to form one large one composed of pure spirit chi. The hero has no idea how big these crystals can be, but he knows for a fact that he has one of the smallest in his hand. The hero squeezes the stone, releasing energy from it. With this hand, he touches his chest. In that same instant, the hero feels his energy almost restored. Now all he has to do is focus. Before he can begin, the hero is left caught off guard. He just wanted to sit down on the bed, and already he was in a strange place. The hero, unsung, found himself in his own dimension. His eye was drawn to an unusual item. On the other side of the portal, he saw his real body standing still. However, it didn't take long for the hero's body to collapse, as if on purpose. Absolutely motionless lies the body of the protagonist. As if making a colossal effort, it's trying to rise. At last, the hero was horrified at the faint grimace that appeared on the face of his real body. The hero hopes that since only his consciousness has been transported to this place, he can still control his body. Laughing stupidly, the main character's body lands in the corner of the room. After putting some effort into it, the protagonist is pleased with the result. As he closes the portal, the hero realizes that he is wasting spiritual energy on being here. As such, he intends to stop wasting time and start practicing immediately. His body is once again enveloped by some kind of energy. At the same time, the character is thinking about, while his soul is cultivating, the results of the training are also visible on his body, outside of this space. After finishing cultivation, the hero stands up first in another dimension, and then his real body awakens. Xiwen's gaze brimmed with confidence in his own abilities. The hero is back, and it seems he is now capable of new deeds. From now on, the hero can enter this space whenever he needs to. The only thing he needs for this is an inexhaustible supply of spiritual stones. In this space, the speed of learning the techniques and spiritual practices of the hero is extraordinary. It seems that the hero has already encountered the possibility of buying resources in games. Donate. The hero is comforted by the fact that the world is teeming with these crystals. Being engrossed in constructing a plan for his training and practice, he doesn't notice the maid who informs him that it is time for breakfast. The bewildered girl looks at the broken window and the mess in the room. She gets scared and screams. The protagonist has yet to tell everyone what happened. The mountains are drowned in thick morning fog. From the house comes the conversation of an indignant father. Inside the house, a family of 5 is having breakfast at the dining room table. A father notices that his son is starting to act strangely. The hero, trying to justify himself, reports that last night he was so engrossed in practicing that he couldn't resist testing his powers. Father parries this by saying that their cult is characterized by tranquility, purity of heart and soul, not destruction. The hero wanted to surprise everyone with his achievement. However, he still receives support from his sister, rubbing his father with her elbow as if asking him to calm down a bit. The boy's mother states that his father is actually proud of his results. Xiwen was lucky that today his parents weren't as pushy as usual, and didn't ask how he had reached the 4th level, for it was too risky to tell anyone about that space. The hero's sister remarks that if nothing changes, by the time he reaches the 7th level of Houtian, the house will be nothing but ruins. While the sisters gossip about how their father achieved level 7, the hero remained awkwardly silent. The older brother congratulates the hero on reaching level 4, nevertheless noting that this is only a small step. The hero, amazed by his brother's admonitions, is going to make every effort to achieve his goal. And that's where he should start. Xiwen states that after breakfast, he wants to visit the library and borrow some combat skill there. A father approves of his son's eagerness to learn martial arts, but warns that choosing his first skill is an important step. Taking into consideration what his father had said earlier, the lad expresses a desire to visit the western part of the mountain to further cultivate the head of the family emphasizes his satisfaction with his son. As not long ago the hero was a droopy-eyed man, father orders the sisters to counsel Xiwen. The mother interrupts their conversation and tells them to continue eating before the food cools down. The hero is offered a taste of the food. The guy notices that, being a level 4, he is unable to surprise his family members, yet his family's well-being pleases him. But this is just the beginning of his new life. The Yi Yuan library building can be seen at the top. Climbing up the stairs, the hero remembers how he spent 3 months in this place, learning all the subtleties of this world. The older brother sighs heavily and sits down on the steps. He complains about the mere presence of books in this place. It doesn't suit his nature. Xiwen wondered to his brother if he had taken the right skill for himself. When he was at level 4, the older brother confirms what he said, adding that it is possible to return there if the disciple earns points that he can receive as rewards for various achievements in the sect. The hero doesn't believe his brother as he is very lazy. Still, the young man wishes to know what skill his brother has chosen to learn. The brother extends his arm forward. It produces an electrical discharge. Xiwen stares mesmerized at what is happening. The brother explains that his skill, Thunderpalm, is based on internal chi power and is one of the best in their library. He makes some sort of gesture with his hand and it is covered by an electrical flash. In the next instant, the earth is struck by a fireball of colossal power. The brother was covered in a powerful electric aura, and the hero was stunned by what he saw. He wondered how his brother had managed to find such a skill. The brother runs away from the question, saying that his circumstances were unique, so the hero shouldn't know about them. The sister explains that at the time, their brother didn't want to take the time to learn the skills, so their father scolded him so much that he picked the first skill he saw in a hurry. A brother advises his younger brother to work harder, so that his father will answer to him. The hero will be helped in choosing weapons, but Xiwen's skill will have to be chosen by himself. The sister points out their brother's irresponsibility, and since he's run away, she decides to leave the hero too. She wishes her brother every effort and withdraws. Looking back, the hero sees the library building waiting for him. The hero can't wait to finally get in there and choose his skill. Confidently and without any hesitation, he enters the building. The elder in the chair notices the boy and greets him with some indifference. He assumes that the hero came here to read an encyclopedia or world history. However, the hero confidently declares that he has come to visit the 2nd floor. The elder wonders if the guy wants to borrow the skill. Without waiting for an answer, he lets him go upstairs.
Elder recommends learning and practicing your chosen skill without relying on talent.
The protagonist courteously accepts the elder's instruction. He lamented the fact that the old man could have seen that the hero had broken through to the 4th level right away. Realizing up the stairs, the hero reflects on the importance of this place to the cult and the power of the library guard. Suddenly, however, an invisible wall becomes an obstacle for the young enthusiast. The entrance to the 2nd floor has a barrier that prevents students who have not reached the 4th level of Houtian from passing through. It's time for the protagonist to check out what he's accomplished. He leisurely extends his hand toward the barrier, and then, with his entire body, he crosses the barrier that once created the obstacle. The hero marvels at his success. Once on the 2nd floor of the library, he froze in embarrassment. He must have disturbed the peace of this place. The character is eager to learn where he can find basic skills. The woman, pointing with her hand behind her back, says that all of them are basic. As he looks at the bookshelf, all filled with books, he realizes how his brother felt when he chose his skill set. The hero picks up a random book off the shelf. He resents the fact that, in addition to the size of these books, students are not allowed to take the books outside the library. Hence, they are forced to make a copy by hand. A random library patron can't stand rewriting books, so he decides to jump out the window. The hero is concerned about the fact that he won't be able to use the space, as it might be found out. First, Xiwen wants to find the Thunder Palm skill. The hero consistently goes through the books in search of the books he needs. However, there is no way he can find book number 01. His attention is drawn to book number 02. Looking closer, he notices a tiny inscription, O001. The hero reached for her. Grabbing it, he pulled a book from the shelf. On the front, the inscription Thunder Palm was visible. The hero is perplexed as to whether his brother chose this book only because of its small size. But looking at this book, the guy realizes that it has other differences as well. As he turns its pages, he notes that the other books include many techniques and methods. While this book only contains 4 moves, despite that the technique as performed by the older brother looked great. The preface of the book states that the peculiarity of this technique is that the practitioner develops an unimaginable speed. The book includes 4 styles that are built entirely on the control of Qi lightning. The book postulates that a practitioner achieves perfection in martial arts through endless battles and honing techniques. Finished, the hero closed the book. The hero is confident that mastering the technique won't be too difficult, so he chooses Thunder Palm as his first one. Though the time had already passed lunchtime, the keeper of the library remained in his chair. He inquired if Xiwen was finished. The hero confirms that he is done and determined. His first technique was the Thunder Palm. Not to be unsubstantiated, he made a gesture with his hand, and his arm was enveloped in a light electric shock. The elder wondered if he had chosen this technique only because of its small volume. The hero assures the old man that he chose the technique because of the preface, and also the skill is strikingly different from others. The elder claims that basic skills are within the grasp of even the weakest cultivators with diligent training. However, to advance in the study of the Thunder Palm, one must learn how to control lightning. The old man confirms, using the technique. The character is clearly puzzled by what's going on. The elder explains that this skill has a cultivation level requirement, therefore it hasn't been chosen for a long time now. Suddenly, it dawned on the hero that the technique, which consists of only 4 movements that need to be perfected, as if it was created especially for him. The overseer points out that this technique was created by one of the elders of the sect. The disciples of the sect strive to hone just a few moves that will help them defend themselves in battle, and not be defeated by those people. The hero doesn't understand what people the elder is talking about, but he interrupts the young man's thoughts, advising him to start practicing as soon as possible. Xiwen thanks him for his valuable advice and leaves the library. Moving down the stairs, he meets his older brother and sister. On the way home, they talk nonchalantly about something and laugh. When they get home, they have dinner with their family, summarizing the past day's activities. The next morning, the sun lit up the hero's homestead and the window he had boarded up. The hero, dressed in a costume donated by his sister, anticipates the beginning of new adventures. The Qingfeng Mountains can be seen in the distance, shrouded in thick fog. A rumble of thunder is accompanied by a powerful electrical explosion. The hero makes a leap upward, dodging projectiles flying at him. Successfully bypassing an attack, he is given a devo of how many attacks he has yet to repel. Dozens of needles are heading towards the hero at an unthinkable speed. Digging into the ground one by one, they gradually approach the guy. However, the hero has no intention of backing down. Immediately, he uses the Earth Thunder Chain technique, creating an electric wave that stops the enemy's onslaught. Enemy shells falling to the ground. Satisfied with himself, the hero is about to say something, but his plans are disrupted by a needle insidiously sticking into the hero's head. The hero is stunned by this event, for he had been on his guard all along. Meanwhile, in the bushes, his enemy, a bristly boar, is waiting, preparing an attack. A monster-sized animal pounces on the hero. The hero's gaze reads confidence and determination. Without delay, he charges his hands with electrical energy. He unbreakably meets the enemy's blow by grabbing it with his fangs. The hero faces his adversary face-to-face in mortal combat. By making a Herculean effort, he manages to get the giant boar off the ground and throw the enemy into the air. The boar was really pissed off. While in free flight, he strikes back, launching a hail of needles at the hero. Focusing the electrical charge on his palm, he directs it at his opponent. The hero, concentrating electrical energy, neutralizes his target while it is in the air. The defeated enemy falls on his back. the character with a smirk, indicating that he won't fall for the same trick repeatedly. Despite this, he is overtaken by needles again. The hero is in danger of hemorrhaging profusely. The pain of the blow echoes in the guy's head. After recovering from the painful shock, the hero noticed that his opponent had disappeared somewhere else. The dense forest was diluted by a trail trampled by a wild boar. The hero quickly realized what the enemy's escape route was. He realizes it won't be too hard to find the abuser. The tracks clearly indicate the path the animal cowardly took to escape. The boar, moving leisurely, enters the forest clearing. Sunlight illuminates a berry bush growing nearby. The boar smelled a treat, and he's the only one who decided to make a profit. The hero interrupted his impending meal. Xiwen smugly teases the animal. Noticing the approaching hero, he turns around sharply and growls. Enraged that his plans have been ruined, the boar lunges at him furiously. The hero declares that the boar had pursued him from the woods as he cultivated Their imminent collision is only prevented by a few meters. Clutching the spirit stone in his hand, the hero declares revenge. He shouts out the name of the spell, Phantom Thunder Axe, and the boar is struck by a strong electrical charge. The hero's arm is enveloped in an electric aura. He throws his arm forward sharply, emitting a sparking discharge. The charged lightning spell paralyzes a wild beast that is convulsing in convulsions. Shocked by the deadly attack, he falls to the ground unmoving. Unwilling to surrender, the opponent makes a last-ditch effort to rise up, but fails. Collapsing on his back, his body still smoking and sparking, now his soul can rest in heaven. The hero stands victoriously beside the lifeless body of his enemy and stares into the distance. The satisfied smirk on the hero's face indicates his victory. Xiwen concludes that today's practice has yielded positive results. Barely forgetting, the hero returns to the berry that the wild beast craved so much. The curious plant caught the hero's eye, and he bent down to get a closer look at the fruit. The character explains that the Di-Chin berry is used to make pills. He believes there are no more animals on this mountain that would be interested in this berry. Enjoying his find, the hero doesn't notice the snake that insidiously crept up behind him. Is this really where it ends for the hero? A day later, life is in full swing in Merit Square. Passers-by marvel at the stranger who didn't deign to use a dimensional bag or ring. In his hands were the corpses of animals, a boar and a snake. The lucky cargo owner is none other than Xiwen, who has successfully defeated the snake's assassination attempt. Climbing the steps, the hero carries the carcass of a slaughtered boar into the building on his back. Once inside, he sees a man at a desk, immersed in his work. The corpses of slaughtered animals fall on the table with a thud. The man behind the counter is clearly puzzled by what's going on. The hero states that he wants to trade their bodies for spirit stones. The man, still a little embarrassed by the guest's actions, stares at the merchandise in silence. He holds out his hand, enveloped in a yellow aura. Under some kind of force, a man extracts colorful balls from the bodies of animals. He calls them Houtian 4th-level monster cores and estimates their value at 20 lower-grade stones. The man tosses the hero a small bag filled with crystals. The hero, while admiring his reward, feels the need to refrain from emotions. A young man, trying to up the ante, asks for an increase in his reward. However, when the salesman was about to cancel the deal, the hero stops him. Unwilling to back down, the hero tries to reap the rewards directly from the animal bodies themselves. He explains that wild boar is valuable in its own right, as well as its hide and innards. The seller flatly refuses to cooperate further. It's already nighttime outside. In the hands of the hero is a delicious kebab made from the meat of the boar he killed. The hero doesn't understand how the seller could have made such an oversight by not taking the body. The older brother explains that no one would want to eat wild animals as they have bad energy. Still, he's forced to recognize his younger brother's culinary abilities. The brothers had a marvelous dinner, and now they are satiated. The older brother wonders why the protagonist would want him, after all. Xiwen smilingly shows his brother the mountain berry he recently found. The older brother picks up a berry and examines it. He assumes that since the hero is asking for help, he is already aware of the effects of the berry. The hero tells us that it should significantly increase cultivation and spiritual chi when consumed, but there are some risks involved. The brother explains that the berry is deadly to ordinary people, but a martial practitioner who eats it may be able to reach the next level. The hero reports that he decided to ask his brother for help due to the frightening power of the spiritual chi in this berry. He would have liked to share half with his brother for the favor he had done, but the latter refused because he did not need such supplements. Big brother, thanks Xiwen once again for the delicious food. The hero comes to relish such compliments. The brother admonishes that he has his hands full and needs to hurry, so he needs to get started as soon as possible. The hero, without thinking, swallows the berry. The brother, a little embarrassed, wonders if the hero feels the flow of spiritual chi. The hero is enveloped by a yellow aura and feels like he has broken through to the next level. He delights in the taste of the berry so much that his nose bleeds. The brother tells the hero to sit down, as his spiritual chi may overflow and explode. It helps him get rid of excess spiritual energy. Having done his best, the brother asks if the hero is feeling okay. Elder brother heralds Xiwen's early attainment of level 5. But the deciding factor is not the amount of spiritual energy, but practice. He says goodbye to his younger brother and asks to be sure to call him to the next meal like this one. Now the hero is full of energy and strength. By opening the portal, he plans to start practicing sooner rather than later. However, his plans are interrupted by his older brother, who wanted to say something else for the last time. The older brother genuinely doesn't understand the reason why the hero is afraid. He, not noticing the spatial gap, remembers that he has something particularly important to tell the hero. The brother states that there should soon be someone in this district. These people are the Jiang family. The hero makes the assumption that they have come here to train, as Qingfeng Mountain belongs to both families. The brother rejects the hero's assumption, as the Jiang family's masters have enough room to practice as it is.
In fact, their true purpose is spiritual plants.
The hero is perplexed as to which spirit plants we are talking about. Elder brother explains that plants also have the ability to cultivate by absorbing spiritual energy. Based on what his brother told him, the hero concludes that the Jiang family came to Qingfeng Mountain to get these plants. The brother agrees with the hero, asking him to be more careful when practicing in the woods, and to report suspicious individuals. Now he claims he's definitely leaving the character. Having said that, he disappears without a trace into the thicket of trees. The hero ponders once again what his brother said about the spiritual plants. He recognizes that he should not rely too heavily on the power of spiritual plants, so the guy fully immerses himself in training. He rips off the portal and enters the space. The hero closes his eyes to focus. Right now, he is full of strength, and with this growth rate, he expects to overcome the 5th level in the blink of an eye. It's night in the forest. There's a turquoise-colored ring half submerged in the ground. The furry paw of some animal appeared nearby. He took the ring in his paw and pulled it out of the ground. The monkey is looking at the ring. Delighted with his new find, the beast replenishes his bag with the trinket he has just found. In the distance, you can see smoke rising above the treetops. The animal notices him. There is a real body of the hero near the fire, covered with a stone shell. Monkey, navigating by the smoke from the campfire, comes to the forest clearing where Xiwen is training. Curious, she scrutinizes the statue closely. What she sees makes a lasting impression on her. Finished with her examination, she gives a loud signal. Her cry is answered by the other members of the monkey pack. Together they start jumping, making characteristic sounds and carrying the protagonist in an unknown direction. It was beginning to get light in the forest. It was morning. At the entrance to the cave, members of the monkey family were sprawled out, catching up on their last few minutes of sleep. In the depths of the cave, the main character sits on a huge pile of stolen monkey stuff.
A piece of the shell on the hero's head broke off.
In an instant, the rest of the stone cover collapsed. Being in the excitement of reaching the 5th level of Houtian, the hero only now realizes that he is not in the forest, but in a cave. From the cave comes the hero's terrifying cry. The monkeys couldn't help but hear this cry that interrupted their sleep. Racing to the spot where the stone figure used to be, they find not even a hint of its existence. Having failed to find the lost find of the previous night, they head for the cave exit. Meanwhile, the supposedly disappeared hero was glued to the ceiling with a spiritual chi lightning technique. Seeing that he is in no danger, the hero comes down to earth. The hero assumes that the monkeys mistook him for some treasure and dragged him to their lair. Despite their seeming harmlessness, metal-haired monkeys are equal in strength to a level 5 practitioner. So, the hero should not provoke an encounter with them and find another way out of the cave. At that time, outside the cave, a man wonders if this is where the metal-haired monkey's hideout is located. Another confirms his speculation, reporting that these animals like to collect things endowed with spiritual power, including spiritual herbs. Guests speculate that the monkeys have now left the cave in search of food. The white-robed fellow, the young lord of the Jiang family, tells his subjects to go to the cave. The hero heard some noise outside the cave. It seems to him that something has happened outside the cave, but he's not worried about that, because he's headed for the exit of the lair. The bright sunlight hits your eyes. However, this exit leads to a precipice, condemning whoever decides to use it to certain death. The sounds in the cave are gradually getting closer, so the hero has no choice but to try to climb down. Among the mountains, something catches the hero's eye. Ginseng grows lonely on the edge of a cliff. The hero is surprised by the fact that ginseng can grow in such a place. He extends a hand in his direction. Xiwen hypothesizes that it was the monkeys who were guarding him. Suddenly, the stem of the plant straightened and the flower opened up. The hero was embarrassed by this. The flower comes to life and jumps out of the guy's hands. Floating in the air, the plant radiates energy. He even has a face. Raising its arms upward, as if awakening from sleep, the plant either yawns or screams. The hero is dumbfounded by the reanimated flower. A pentagram appears directly in the air near the ginseng tree. The hero is convinced that this plant is very powerful, so he must get his hands on it. The hero reaches out towards the plant, making a dash towards it. When they're separated by mere centimeters, the hero grabs the coveted ginseng bush. However, clenching his fist, he is left with nothing. He falls to the ground. The hero doesn't have time to really understand anything. Spotting a plant above his head, he concludes that it possesses the technique of teleportation. It's worth noting that his enemy is not as simple as it seems at first glance. The character concentrates spiritual energy in his feet to increase his movement speed. Ginseng patiently observes the hero's actions. Hearing the Zhang family members approaching, the plant became confused. Xiwen realizes that now is his chance to get his hands on the coveted reward. With lightning speed, the hero moves toward his goal. His maneuver leaves a sparkling trail on the ground. The hero declares that trying to compete with him in speed is pointless. He is convinced that ginseng is too slow for him. As he examines the bush at close range, he notices that it looks pretty creepy. A bright red flash appeared in the depths of the cave. The shockwave rapidly spreads towards the hero's side. Being carried away by the prize he received, he barely has time to react to an enemy attack. The opponent's technique cuts off the ginseng leaf, and he falls to the ground, between the ditches formed by the crests of the enemy waves. The hero is in shock at what's happening. He contemplates with horror the aftermath of a powerful enemy attack. Finally, unable to stand it, he lashes out at his foe. In the depths of the cave, we can see the silhouette of an unknown man approaching. Shaking off the red-hot sparks, he apologizes for what happened. The guy justifies this misunderstanding by saying that he confused the hero with the monkeys because of the darkness. The hero guesses that the young master of the Zhang family is in front of him. He excuses himself that he did not mean to offend the gentleman, and did not know that the Zhang family people were so rude. The protagonist's monologue is interrupted by the servant's report that the monkeys have been eliminated. The hero can't believe his ears. His imagination paints a picture of a pack of murdered monkeys. The master is pleasantly surprised by the fact that the monkeys were dealt with, for they were on level 5. The young guest remarks that the Yi Yuan sect was the first to get hold of the ginseng spiritual stone. The hero doesn't even know why he was so surprised by this fact. The master states that he is willing to offer twice the fee of the Yi Yuan sect. The young gentleman explains that this is not a deal, but a threat, and the hero should listen, as he is only at level 5. Entering the cave, they knew that the Monkey King was not there right now, so they massacred them without much effort. The hero realizes he's in a desperate situation. Unwilling to sacrifice his life, he decides to give away the spiritual plant. The Lord thanks the hero for his cooperation, receiving the coveted reward. The hero wonders what he's going to be rewarded with. A wrought iron grin creeps across the host's face. Master orders Xiwen to be dealt with. The hero anticipates an attempt on his life, and uses the earth-shattering lightning skill. Under the action of the technique, it surges upward. Abusers remain baffled by what happened. The expression on the gentleman's face signals his confusion. Looking at the empty hand, he doesn't understand how the hero managed to do it. Concentrating electrical energy in his hand, he prepares to use the technique. The electric tail rushes towards the enemy with lightning speed. The Lord barely has time to notice the hero's attack. It's about to catch up with him, causing a massive blast wave. However, neither the young master nor his servants were subjected to the effect of the attack. The Zhang family's supplicants want to know what the hero is trying to accomplish. The hero smugly asks to look them back. They can't believe their eyes. The passage to the cave has been blocked by debris. The master claims that the hero's decision to block the passage of the Zhang family's servants, along with cutting off the escape route for Xiwen himself as well. Future head Zhang doubted that with the current hero development, he would be able to defeat them. The hero confidently declares that he has made significant progress in recent times. Opponents parry this by saying that there is nothing stopping them from overpowering him. They frustrate the hero with the fact that his level is too low, and he is weak. The opponent's leg is caught in an electric shackle. Distracted by the conversation, he didn't notice he had fallen into the hero's trap. The hero explains that he has spent a lot of time training against spirit beasts, so it's not hard for him to do this kind of ambush. And unfortunately for the enemy caught in the net, the hero was practicing on a wild boar. Before he can do anything, the enemy is struck by an electric shock. Having dealt with one adversary, the hero states that another servant deep down comes to dread the deadly machinery. He recognizes that even though the character is only level 5, he still has some skills. To him, however, all these tricks are a mere trifle. Having said that, the opponent makes a swing of his sword, cutting through the air, creating a shockwave heading in the direction of the hero. The opponent assumes that the hero cannot use the same technique twice. The hero says he's never met anyone so stupid in his life. The enemy, with confidence in his strength, rushes into battle. The wars are about to collide in direct face-to-face combat. The hero warns that he still has tricks he can surprise with. Focusing the spiritual energy in his hands, he connects them with the flow of 2 separate electrical strands. An enemy sword shrouded in a yellow aura is ready to strike the protagonist. Eventually, they inevitably collide with each other. The hero's electric spindle proves to be stronger, successfully countering the enemy attack. As the warriors collide, a powerful blast wave is formed. The enemy is confused as to how the hero managed to stop his attack. The hero continues to concertize electrical energy. He remarks that his opponents are apparently unaware of the effects of the current. The hero grabs the blade, blowing an electrical charge across it, saying it's called electrical conductivity. The hero's attack reaches the enemy, and he's screaming in pain from the electric shock. The hero remarks that this attack was only successful due to the fact that he didn't skip physics class. Still sparking, electrocuted, the enemy falls unconscious, and the hero testifies that he has defeated his second opponent. He expresses his gratitude to the young master for not attacking him first, even though he was quite powerful. The young representative of the Zhang family explains that he didn't do it only because he didn't want to fight alongside the weaker subjects. Before he can say anything, he looks around, not noticing Xiwen standing next to him just a moment ago. The hero takes advantage of the moment and rises above the ground, attacking the Lord. He once again uses one of the lightning-fast techniques in his arsenal. The young chapter is distressed by the immoral, pathetic act of a hero. After catching up to the hero's speed, he responds with his own attack, Eagle Claw. Streams of blue and red energy clots collide. Finally, the enemy attack proves to be stronger than the hero's technique, forcing him into defense mode. A massive shockwave throws the protagonist away. Realizing the full power of the 6th level, the hero recalls that the Zhang family was the first to attack him. The young master recognizes the hero's courage, but shares with him his intentions to take the ginseng after the death of the other one. The offender curses Xiwen, unleashing his enemy claws. With tremendous speed, the enemy's attack tends to reach the hero. Not on a joke angry, the hero threatens to show a couple more tricks from the physics textbook. The sword of the enemy he had previously defeated is swiftly carried. The hero attracted him using the power of the magnetic field. Hovering in the air practically in his hands, the sword is filled with spiritual energy. With colossal speed, the sword flies out of the hero's hands. Faced with enemy technology, he neutralizes it without any hesitation. The young gentleman can't believe his eyes. With tremendous speed, wielding the power of lightning, the hero's strike is about to catch up with its target in the foreseeable future. The sword is so close to the Lord that it is visible in the reflection of his eye. The hero focuses his attention on the words, chapter, regarding his chances of victory. The Lord survived the hero's attack, but is seriously wounded in the shoulder. Barely holding back from the intense pain, the Zhang family's heir cannot believe what has happened. The smug hero declares that his opponent's techniques are completely useless. The character is trying to say the key to success is combining cultivation with good combat technique, and the Lord has only slightly increased base damage. Losing his composure, the Lord declares that the hero is talking utter nonsense. Completely losing control of himself, the enemy is eager to give the hero a painful death. However, something prevents the gentleman from moving from his seat. Confused, he looks down at his feet. Unfortunately for him, the hero's electric harness wrapped around them. The hero says that the young gentleman is even stupider than he thought. But he couldn't imagine that someone could fall into a trap he had already seen before. The gentleman, enraged by the hero's bullying, can't believe he fell for the same trick twice. In rage, he bares his red claws. Dozens of claws swiftly fly towards the hero. Xiwen considers this the best moment to try out his technique that he has been practicing recently. Concentrating all the spiritual energy, he then releases it all at once. The result is a massive explosion from the overflow, puffs of smoke rising into the sky. The enemy, entertaining hopes, is already beginning to rejoice in victory. Just as quickly, however, any doubts leave him. The silhouette of the surviving protagonist can be seen in the smoke. His body was transformed as a result of a technique whose knowledge of the hero, according to the Lord, is at the 8th level. The character's gaze is like a lifeless, completely depersonalized one. His fist sparkles. The hero's speed is so great. It's like he's teleporting instead of moving, preparing to strike. It's as if the hero is bending the space around him. A blow of crushing force, meeting no resistance, overtakes Mr. He, amazed by the fact that the hero has managed to cultivate the basic skill to the limit, concludes that the one is not human. Xiwen denies what the Lord said, claiming that his inhumanity is the result of diligent training. The indestructible Qingfeng Mountains are engulfed in fog. The hero feels he fought to the limit of his abilities. If he had continued the battle without his reserves of spiritual energy, it was bound to end badly for him. From the cave whose entrance is blocked, the shouts of the Zhang family's subordinates can be heard. The defeated gentleman can't believe that the hero is going to just run away like that after daring to injure him. Hearing that there is another young master on the other side of the barricade, a certain voice asks to get out of the way. Immediately after those words, the shockwave took flight. The hero foresaw the impending danger, mentally picturing the wave splitting him open. Easily bypassing the barrier, the enemy attack causes tremendous destruction. In the aftermath of the attack, part of the cliff on which the heroes are located is broken off. Despite his quick reaction, the hero still fails to avoid being wounded. Noting the fact that he was just within a hair's breadth of death, the hero wonders why the enemies would want to destroy the cave. In the dissipating smoke, the silhouettes of the newly arrived members of the Zhang family can be seen. The young gentleman who was struck down indicates that the man at the head of the approaching warriors is his brother. Along with the two subjects, the second head of the Zhang family, a young man holding the hilt of a knife, emerges from the cave. A young gentleman asks his brother to kill his abuser as soon as possible. The second heir of the Zhang family casts a disdainful glance at the scene. He silently contemplates the protagonist and the defeated older brother. With a sudden movement, the young man pulls the blade from its sheath. The hero, realizing that he is not in the best condition for battle, urges him not to start the fight. If the Lord does not touch the hero, he will give the Zhang family the spiritual plant. Otherwise, he promises to destroy the ginseng plant. The brother declares that the hero won't even get a chance to do that. Retreating to the edge of the cliff, the hero is forced to recognize that his opponent is too strong. The floor beneath his feet is cracking. This is instantly noticed by the hero's adversary. The response from the gentleman is not long in coming. He takes a quick swing of his dagger, creating a shockwave that barely grazes the hero, cutting off a few hairs on his head. The rocks beneath the hero's feet collapse and he finds himself in free fall. All the submissives and the two brothers are standing on a cliff. The Lord orders the hero to be found, for if he could defeat his older brother, a fall from such a height will not harm him. The younger brother moves towards the defeated elder lord. He reports that upon successful completion of the operation, the younger brother will also receive his reward. The younger heir disagrees with Mr. He declares that he doesn't need his older brother's help. With those words, he suddenly punches the gentleman's stomach. He's perplexed by the fact that he's being betrayed. The younger brother explains that he needs the hero to be considered a criminal. The master regrets killing his older brother, but it is a necessity. He remarks that fortunately there are enough young masters in the Zhang family. The young man tactfully disposes of his brother's body by throwing it off a cliff. Meanwhile, the hero magnetized himself to the rock with the help of spiritual energy. The hero notices a falling body. He has to admit that killing a member of the Zhang family will cause problems. The hero realizes that since the Lord killed his own brother, when he finds him he will definitely finish him off. A piece of debris from a mountain falls from a great height. Suddenly there was a blur in the hero's eye. He notices that blood is oozing from a wound on his right shoulder. The hero feels that his strength is being sapped and he can no longer hold on. He loses too much blood and eventually loses consciousness. The hero falls off a cliff, straight down. The gentleman hears a sound in the abyss, and he turns around. However, seeing nothing, he decides that he heard something and leaves. After a while, it was already nightfall. The full moon, buried in a starry sky, brightly illuminates everything around it. Above the treetops, you can see a stream of sparkling particles soaring upward. You can feel their warmth. The hero, after lying for an unknown amount of time, opens his eyes. When he comes to marvel at the fact that the weight is still alive. Little by little, the hero is focusing his gaze on something. Just a few meters away, he notices the body of a murdered older brother from the Zhang family. The hero looks around himself incomprehensibly. He is surprised by the fact that he feels no pain at all from his injuries. He finds a bright light shining through from the pocket of his cloak. The hero checks the contents of his pocket and pulls out a spiritual ginseng from there. He can't believe that the spirit plant has managed to cure the hero. The hero's thoughts are interrupted by the servants of the Zhang family who have just arrived. The servants discover the hero close to the body of the gentleman, conclude that he is the murderer. The hero points out that he could not have killed the lord, for he had fallen off the cliff before him. One of the servants flatly refuses to accept the hero's version of events. Drawing his sword, the other stops him, reminding him that if even the master could not deal with the hero, then they are no match for him. A more appropriate solution in this situation, according to the second servant, would be to return home and inform the family. The departure of the subalterns causes the hero to be relieved, as he has no spiritual energy left at all. Suddenly, an idea about the spirit stones hit him. The hero suggests that there might be a couple of rocks on the corpse's body. Meanwhile, a pack of monkeys is returning to the cave from a hunt. At their head, their leader enters the den, noticeably distinguished in appearance from the other monkeys. Making his way into the depths, he discovers the rest of the murdered pack. A sullen grimace can be traced on the monkey's face, signaling a severe loss. Being in grief over the loss, the ringleader begins to growl loudly. Following his example, the rest of the monkeys also begin to scream. Their cry echoed through the Qingfeng Mountains at night. Something seems to catch the hero's attention. The hero thinks he heard a sound. Deciding that he had imagined it, he finds it necessary to find a suitable place in which to restore his energy. The hero, finding it delightful, remarks how great it is to be a young master, for it is so rich. He is convinced that with the help of spiritual stones, reaching the 6th level should not pose much of a problem. The hero's reflections on his bright future are interrupted by the onslaught of the enemy, who quite quickly came up. Opponents claim that even assuming the hero has straightened out the master, he won't be able to stand up to so many warriors. The hero can't stop, because then, based on his words, he will die. A pack of monkeys led by a chief watches the chase for the protagonist. The expression on the ape's leader's face indicates some deep insight. The full moon is hidden in the night clouds. Climbing up the tree, the hero is relieved that he has managed to break away from his pursuers. The hero reports that a cultivation site and spirit stones are all he needs. He had managed to get a few spirit stones from the lord's body, so his abusers would not be a threat to him anytime soon. Xiwen opens her bag with anticipation, which conveniently houses a spiritual ginseng that eats spiritual stones originally intended for a hero. Finding himself at a loss for words, the hero closes the bag, and then opens it again, apparently unable to believe his eyes. The second time around, though, it still has the same spiritual plant in it. Enraged, the hero orders every single spirit crystal to be returned to him. The hero had no intention of eating the spiritual ginseng after it saved him, but this situation changed everything. Interrupting the young man's anger, the spiritual ginseng slaps him in the face. The hero is enraged that a spirit plant dared to raise a hand against him. Just as quickly, however, the expression on the hero's face changed from anger to surprise. The slap mark is slowly healing, under the healing powers of ginseng. The grimace on the hero's face becomes even more surprised at what's happening. The hero looks at the spiritual ginseng, who, judging by his face, deeply regrets what he has done. One small spiritual crystal falls on the branch of a tree. He catches the main character's attention, and he throws an intrigued glance. The hero assumes that provided he gives the ginseng spiritual stones, the ginseng will cure him. He has to admit that he's being hunted, so he can't do without injuries, but a healer would make the situation much easier. However, for a second, the hero thinks that this deal isn't so fair, and maybe it's better to just eat the ginseng. Having someone to cure him doesn't sound so bad, though. Finally, the hero, with a satisfied smile on his face, declares that he is ready to give his verdict. Before he could say his decision, the spiritual ginseng was gone. While the hero reasoned over a better deal, the spirit plant took up the last crystal. After a few days in the Qingfeng Mountains, several people are walking through the woods and speculating about a certain young master allegedly killing a young gentleman. The patriarch gave orders to kill everyone in the forest who is not a member of the Zhang family. The subalterns questioned the patriarch's words, as you can't kill everyone here, as there are many more people cultivating in this forest. There is some rustling in the bushes, and suddenly the shadow of some animal jumps out of them. One of the subordinates has a cut on his chest, from which blood is gushing out. This attack was so sudden that only seconds later his allies discovered the injury. Slashing the air with his sword, one of the servants asks the one who attacked them to come forward. The shockwave caused by the character's technique is carried to the intended location of the enemy ambush. However, the leader of the apes successfully deflects the enemy attack. His eyes, full of rage and vengeance, are bloodshot. Realizing that his location has been revealed, he reveals himself to his abusers. The monkey goes berserk. In the blink of an eye, being near the Zhang family's submissive, the ringleader grabs his face and mercilessly smashes his opponent's head against a tree. After only finishing off the first enemy, he instantly switches to his ally. The other realizes that he will now have to fight this monster, which makes him horrified. Throughout the mountains echoed the terrible cries of the served one. The hero, meanwhile, notices that the reason for those screams must be a pack of monkeys, because they have been killing all the people in the forest for days now. Xiwen managed to trap several servants of the Zhang family, which he is quite satisfied with. The warriors howl, branding the protagonist a murderer of their young lord. The hero doesn't particularly try to deny it, knowing it's a lie, but he does thank the captives for their spiritual stones. In the thick of the forest, you can hear the sound of a tree hitting a tree. The main character, jumping from tree to tree, is in a hurry to get somewhere. Finally reaching his destination, he lands on the ground. The hero feels that the servants of the Zhang family are following him, so he wants to go as deep into the forest as possible. He remarks that he has not gone unnoticed, and his opponents have seen his face, though it's not a big deal now. Xiwen takes out a spiritual stone from her bag and feeds her spiritual ginseng with it. The hero recognizes that he can't leave the forest right now, because he might be identified. He picks up the horn. The guy declares that he has no choice but to accept the fight. The forest is illuminated by the rays of the midday sun. A pack of monkeys led by the leader gathered around the carcass of the murdered Zhang family servant. A pebble flies right in front of the ringleader's face at high speed. Angrily looking overhead, the monkey finds the protagonist hurtling through the air at lightning speeds. All the monkeys in the pack follow their leader's example and frantically chase after the hero. Flying through the air, he holds a horn in his hand. He looks around, glancing back with a smirk. The hero puts a horn to his mouth, about to signal. A squad of fighters, led by a gentleman from the Zhang family, heard a sound. The gentleman responds to the signal he hears. The warriors of the squad say that the sound of the horn, which sounded not so far away, is the signal of the gathering. A crowd of warriors rushes towards the place from where the horn supposedly sounded. Stepping out onto the forest lawn, they discover the main protagonist. The gentleman wonders if the protagonist has rung the horn. The hero in turn asks if the horn serves as a gathering place for Zhang's family. The lord pulls his dagger from its sheath, showing interest in the hero's desires. Xiwen breaks the horn into small pieces. The hero delivers a crushing blow to the ground, stating that he wishes to gather all the members of the Zhang family in one place. The smokescreen caused by the hero's attack blocks the enemy's vision. Tilting his head back, the gentleman discovers a pack of monkeys falling straight for his troop. A pack of animals attacks the Zhang family's servants, conducting an aerial attack. The master, having had time to react, successfully evades the enemy's attack. What catches the eye of a young gentleman? Taking advantage of the turmoil, the hero decides to make a quick escape from the battlefield. The gentleman is being attacked by monkeys. Firmly putting his foot down, the gentleman reinforces his fighting stance. His opponents are alert, preparing for an attack. He bares his blade in preparation to repel attacks. In no time at all, he's chopping all his opponents in half. Standing on the corpses of the monkeys he has killed, he smugly declares that his opponents are stupid. The pack leader, who is around Houtian's 7th level, has no problem dealing with his foes. The lord walks off the battlefield, arrogantly considering his allies to be worthless. He's heading in the direction the protagonist has gone. With tremendous speed, he moves through the forest thicket. The Qingfeng Mountains are drowned in fog. The hero declares that Zhang's family is to blame for what happened. And when everything is over, he will have to go back and finish what he started. He believes that even if the opponents fight as a whole squad, they won't have it easy since their leader is at least level 7. But if they pull it off, the hero will have to do it himself. While the hero is making plans, he is overtaken from behind by an attack from a young gentleman. As if in his gut he senses danger approaching, he looks backward. There's a colossal explosion in the woods. The hero escapes the enemy attack safely. Meeting the master, Xiwen quotes the saying, "Remember the devil, and he will appear." The hero reports that he was just thinking of a young gentleman. The head of the Zhang family vigilantly puts his hand down on the scabbard of his blade. The hero wonders if the gentleman should help his mate in the whitewash. The opponent parries by stating that his submissions are all just garbage, distracting himself with which he might miss a hero. No sooner has the gentleman finished speaking than the hero, with no warning, starts the fight. The first barely manages to dodge the hero's attack. The lord immediately grabs the blade, pulling it from its sheath. But the hero reacts instantly, stopping his opponent and preventing him from exposing his weapon. Holding back the enemy with one hand, he concerts spiritual energy in the other, preparing to strike back. The shock wave tosses the gentleman up, but he manages to avoid the hero's attack. After a defensive maneuver, he lands a few meters away from Xiwen. Only after gaining a sure footing, he chops the space in front of him, sending the blast wave straight to the hero. The hero makes a defensive maneuver in an attempt to avoid the enemy's attack. The wave does not hit the hero. However, his attack rounds the obstacle and flies into the Lord. Being engrossed in plotting his tactics, the Lord barely has time to notice the enemy's attack. He turns his dagger sharply in his hand, and in the same swift motion closes in on the hero's attack. An electric comet is heading toward young Mr. Reaching the target, one electric ball splits into 4 smaller shards that go behind Mr.'s back. It's only at the last moment that he realizes the gravity of the situation. The hero successfully avoids the opponent's techniques by dodging with a somersault. He claims that his plan worked without fail. Completely focused on fending off the enemy attack, the Lord loses control. The hero's tactic is to attack the Lord from the left flank, thereby cutting off his ability to mount a counter-resistance. The gentleman takes a deep exhale to help him concentrate. He thrusts his sword into the ground in a sharp motion, and 2 powerful magical waves rush towards the protagonist at monstrous speeds. The guy barely manages to react to the enemy's technique, and only has time to cover himself with his hands. His block can't withstand the onslaught of enemy attacks, and the hero is thrown back by the shockwave. He falls on his back, only after coming to his senses. He is already the victim of the next enemy attack. Jumping up, the Lord attacks the hero with a crescent moon strike. The hero realizes that he is in a desperate situation, as the sudden attack takes him by surprise. The forest seems to be cut in half by the moon falling from the sky. The Dominus figured out the protagonist's plan to attack his blind spot. He explains that Zhang's family doesn't allow techniques that are above their level to be practiced, because to get her, the Lord had to kill her brother. The hero can't believe his opponent hasn't used any techniques yet. Master is preparing to use the technique Jurassic Moon, Ruthless Moon Attack. Dozens of energy half-rings are rapidly heading towards the hero. The hero barely manages to escape the effects of enemy machinery. Having completed the maneuver, he immediately launches a counterattack. A pillar of electricity rains down on the Lord, but he manages to repel it with a barrier. The Lord recognizes the strength of the protagonist, remarking that he expected nothing different from the man who killed his brother. Xiwen disagrees with his opponent, noting that he is the one who killed his brother, but is forced to accept that the Lord's strength and skills are markedly superior to his own. However, the hero also asks not to think he is simple, and declares that he too has a backup plan, ordering the spiritual ginseng to wait for a signal. The heroes stand across from each other, waiting for the moment when one of them decides to start the battle. Xiwen makes a sharp throw straight at his opponent. The gentleman's face didn't even flinch, he was completely calm. Without delay, he makes a horizontal swing of his sword, emitting an energy surge. The hero deftly bends in the air, successfully avoiding enemy attack by concentrating spiritual energy in his hands. It seems to the gentleman that his adversary is already despairing. He draws his sword from its sheath. His blade is trying to cut through the electrical charge. The Lord's actions cause the enemy shell to burst into flames, emitting light. The rays of light crash into his eyes, and the gentleman goes blind. A bright flash blocked the young gentleman's view completely. He quickly grasps that this attack was just a distraction. Turning away from the flood of light, he declares that it was a fruitless deception. Assuming that the hero is now behind him, the gentleman resolutely cuts through the space behind his back. However, this too was nothing more than a simulated attack to distract attention. Meanwhile, the hero attacks the enemy in a blind spot, right above the head of the gentleman, who has yet to realize what is happening. Straightening forward his arm, the hero is about to strike with his charged palm. He hits his electrified hand right on the shoulder, creating a shockwave that is absorbed by the gentleman's body. The immediate response to the hero's actions is a swing of the blade, which goes straight into the main character's body. With absolute certainty, the gentleman declares that the hero's plan has failed miserably. The hero in turn replies that it was just the beginning. He grips the blade of the enemy's sword with his hand, thus giving the signal, and an unknown force begins to heal the wounds received from the blow of the Lord's blade. The head of the Zhang family can't believe his eyes. Ginseng peeks out of his pocket, and the gentleman concludes that the protagonist is being treated by the spiritual plant. The hero makes the assumption that the enemy only specializes in his sword techniques, and without it, his attacks are useless. Raising his knife in the air, he's going to use the magnetic field to send it straight at his opponent. The Lord is in a hurry to upset the protagonist. He begins to concentrate swirls of magical energy in his hand. The hero becomes bewildered by what is happening. The Lord demonstrates that the bright moon technique is not only a sword skill. The hero comes to realize the fact that he's been duped, and he suddenly stabs the protagonist right in the gut. At the last moment, Xiwen manages to release the dagger from his hand. The blade misses the Lord without success, for he manages to dodge. Without wasting a second, the Lord charges his next attack. stating that the hero will most likely not be able to recover from it. He unleashes a powerful energy wave at the protagonist, who has been slow to recover from the previous attack. The shockwave throws the hero into a tree trunk. So strong a series of attacks by the Lord causes him to bleed to death. The hero's eyes went dark and he fell unconscious. Little by little, he's opening his eyes. Finally waking up, the hero stands against some huge stone wall. Rushing around, he discovers he's in his own space. The hero assumes that his loss of consciousness forced him to move to this place. A strange sound comes to his ears. The mysterious transparent shell indicates that the place they are in is completely lifeless and dull. The hero is perplexed that someone else was able to get into his space. Xiwen shows interest in the guest, asking who she is. She avoids answering the question by reminding him that the hero is now in the process of dying. The stranger states that the main character is probably already dead, so this is not the right time for such questions. Through the spatial rift, Xiwen can clearly see his breathless body spread out on the ground. A mysterious spirit offers to save the hero and make a blood contract with him, which shouldn't be a problem since he's badly wounded and bleeding to death. Without a second thought, Xiwen agrees to a deal with a stranger. Only the woman was about to tell what she was going to do when the hero interrupted her, reasoning that if she didn't hurry up, he might die. For a moment, the hero's savior froze. However, the silence was replaced by a shy smile, and the stranger said she'd already forgotten. The girl gives a speech saying that their paths in this world will henceforth be forever intertwined. She holds out her hand to him. The hero covers his face from the blinding rays. In response, he extends his hand to her as well. A bright flash of light blinds the protagonist. Suddenly, a bright burst of light floods the whole place. In reality, the Lord is about to finish off the hero, but his blade unexpectedly collides with a stone barrier. It's as if he's completely surprised by this fact, though, interested in what's going on. An unidentified woman supports the hero's head with one hand, while the other protects him from enemy attack. In the blink of an eye, the stone barrier turns into sharp spikes, forcing the Lord to retreat backwards. He staggers backward and nearly steps on an enemy trap. Giant stone columns seem to grow out of the ground out of nowhere, and almost succeed in finishing off Mr. The master explains that martial artists can, with the right level of spiritual energy, contact blood ties with objects that can take on human form. He admits that the hero's spiritual servant is very strong, but he says that doesn't give her any reason to even hope for victory. Suddenly, rock begins to erupt from the ground. Two large spherical blocks of stone are about to close together. You can clearly see the confusion and bewilderment on the gentleman's face. Eventually, the stone flaps slam shut, forming a circular dome. The girl clenches her hand into a fist, signaling the end of the technique. Finally, the battlefield quieted for a moment. The savior smoothly lowers her hand, relaxing after an active battle. The girl is holding the unconscious body of the main character. Suddenly, the savior unites her lips with the protagonist's. The girl's technique is accompanied by the release of magical particles. Finally, she leaves the protagonist. The savior stops the technique, and the magical aura descends from the hero. She looks affectionately at the unconscious Xiwen and smiles. Meanwhile, inside the stone dome, some kind of sound can be heard. Suddenly, black crescents cut apart the stone sarcophagus. The freedmaster reiterates that the hero will not be able to stop him. The sclera of his eyes turned black, and the iris became a fiery color like magma. The hero's savior was horrified by the gentleman's appearance. She throws her arm forward sharply, and instantly the stone shards strike Mr. Dozens of threads dissect the space, as if dividing it into small pieces. Stone fragments hover in the air. The Lord diffused the enemy projectiles flying at him in the blink of an eye. Effortlessly bypassing the barrier, they reach the girl. The gentleman arrogantly thinks his opponent is talentless. He informs her that he will not maim her badly, but threatens to cut off a couple of her limbs to keep her from escaping. Instantly, the gentleman is answered that if he wants to cut something off, let him do it to himself. The electric circuits swiftly launch themselves at the enemy. The master, sensing the approaching attack, quickly turns around. At the last moment, he manages to escape the magical paths. Those swiftly change their direction, winding up behind Mr. He makes a wave of his hand, closing himself off from the attack with a purple barrier. A bright flash of light illuminates the battlefield. Smoldering shell fragments lie on the ground. The hero, assuming his electric form, declares revenge. The opponent sweeps the ninth style of Xiwen's thunderous palm. The hero extends his clenched hand forward in a fist. He charges the fist with spiritual energy, causing it to be covered in a blue aura. The hero leans his palm against his fist, and he pulls an electric blade out of nowhere. Rivalries in unison are going to use the bright moon style. The master decides to use the moon-splitting technique. The hero shouts out the name of the technique, Falling Moon. Two crescent moons collide in a flash. Powerful attacks neutralize each other, and the heroes remain untouched. The master remarks that Xiwen has copied his techniques. The hero explains that these techniques were so unforgettable that he decided to master them. To warn of an impending attack, he raises his hand in the air. The electric string catches up with the gentleman, however, he successfully parries the attack. The rivals face off. The shockwave of inertia throws the hero. He draws his chain and sword to him. They merge into a single weapon. The new gun is reminiscent of the kusarigama. The lord confidently repels the attack. Understanding the way the weapon works, he's not really surprised. The hero asks his opponent not to be deceived, as he still has something to surprise him. The clanking chain flies at the enemy. Electric shackles wrapped around the gentleman, heading for his back. Being a few centimeters away from the blade, the lord dodges the attack. The hero returns the sword to his hands and suavely announces the reappearance of the attack. Charge blades full speed towards the lord. The enemy is lightning fast as he fights back with a dozen swords. Taking a wide swing with his dagger, the lord recognizes the interestingness of this fight. The ghostly sword slips naughtily out of the hero's hands. However, the latter grips it tightly in his fist. Xiwen resents out of another attack gone awry. The lord, meanwhile, destroys the hero's weapon with ease, cutting the chain into individual links. Xiwen falls to the ground. The hero notices that his technique is not bad, but his level of mastery of it is still insufficient. Putting his sword behind his head, the lord is forced to admit that the hero is pretty good, but for his own good he calls for surrender. The blade, shrouded in some kind of black magic, is about to rush to attack, but is stopped. The hero honorably thanks his opponent for his flattering words. He states that the people in his family are very capable when it comes to setting traps, the kind the inattentive gentleman fell into. Xiwen explains that when fighting an opponent vastly superior in strength, he envisioned such methods of fighting from the beginning. The lord is perplexed at what point in the battle the hero has set his traps. Head Zhang is doing his best to do anything about this situation. However, in response, the hero instantly restrains him with his chains. Extending his arm forward, the hero offers his condolences to the murdered brother of the lord and informs him that he saw him die at the hands of a fratricide. A dagger thrust into the trunk of a tree, creaking as it tries to break free from there. The hero declares in no uncertain terms that he won't be hiding this time around. A loaded knife flies out of the tree and flies into the gentleman's back. The lord warns the hero that he will have to make sacrifices to achieve victory. Holding back the knife with a bloody hand, the enemy reports that the entire Zhang family has arrived in these mountains without exception. He goes on to say that he shouldn't row all of Zhang's men into the same mold, comparing them to his brother's goofy company. The lord prepares to attack the protagonist. It concentrates spiritual energy, covering the blade with black power. Xiwen wonders if his opponent really plans on fighting in that position. The hero informs the enemy that he doesn't intend to fight alone either. At the same moment, the woman who saved the hero knocks the weapon out of the lord's hands in a leap. She lands unharmed a few meters behind an opponent, enraged by this. The hero interrupts the gentleman's indignation by ordering him not to be distracted. After accumulating the necessary amount of spiritual energy, he thanks his companion for distracting his rival by giving him enough time. Xiwen confidently asserts that this attack will mark the end for Mr. With one hand restraining his opponent with shackles, the other focusing a colossal energy blob, he tears towards the lord. A huge electrical explosion, as if a dome was covering the forest. Meanwhile, in the Qingfeng Mountains, on the ground lie the defeated warriors of the Zhang family and their rival monkeys. A fierce battle for supremacy over the mountains is in full swing. A sparkling blade is pointed at the leader of a pack of monkeys. Monkey realizes he's in a desperate situation. This someone threatening to kill the leader is the protagonist's older brother. Tubers of smoke rising upward. The main character's attack left a giant crater in the ground. In it lies a defeated lord who has lost consciousness. The hero wants to believe that this attack was decisive, because he is very tired. He picks up a dagger from the ground. Rising to his feet, the hero says that he is nevertheless troubled by one point. Standing over the gentleman's breathless body, Xiwen declares that he is quite dangerous, and the hero should get rid of him as soon as possible. Unforeseeably for the hero, the gentleman opens his eyes. The girl yells at the hero to stop, thus trying to keep him safe. A burgundy magical wave flies straight at the hero, leaving him in a state of confusion. The savior jumps to the hero as hard as she can to save him from an unexpected enemy attack. The lord declares that the hero needs to put in 100 times more effort to overpower him. He demands not to be compared to his useless, weak older brother. The gentleman is curious if the hero realizes that he is aware of how his girlfriend has been restoring his... He squeezes the heroine's hand tightly and red sparks begin to swirl around him. The gentleman hypocritically asks the girl to take advantage of her healing properties. He continues that once he recovers, it won't be too hard to kill a hero. The wounds on the gentleman's face, which bears an evil smirk, are healing. Judging the strength, the effect of the treatment depends on how strong the main character's emotions are feeling. The Lord is sorry because the hero has put in so much effort and in the end will achieve nothing. Suddenly there was blood on the floor. The gentleman's face was covered with protruding blood vessels, and blood was streaming from his nose. Putting up his hand and looking at it, he found a bloodstain on it. The master is starting to get pissed off. He curses the girl, pushing her away from him in a rage. She falls to the ground, and the master, unable to stand any longer, gets on his knees. The heroine wonders if he really thought that this amount of absorbed spiritual energy could heal him. The gentleman declares that he can't just die like that, and complains that life is full of the unexplainable. He is on his knees with his hands in the air, waiting for something to happen. Suddenly his body explodes and a fountain of blood spurts out. Blood spurts in all directions, flooding everything. The ring falls off the gentleman and rolls on the ground. It lands on the ground with a clang. The hero, still not having time to fully realize everything, in bewilderment, observes what is happening. His savior stands silently in the rain of blood, staring at the wet spot, the last thing left of the Lord. She looks at the protagonist exhaustedly, but good-naturedly. The girl slowly closes her eyes, losing consciousness. She lands right in the hands of the hero in time for the hero's arrival. The hero thanks the girl for her help and wishes her a proper rest. He continues to express his appreciation to her. If she had, says the hero, he wouldn't be alive right now. After a while, night had already fallen and the sky was densely studded with stars. The hero's older brother is making his way through the forest thickets, complaining that he felt the hero's aura not far from here, but now it has disappeared. He reassures himself with the thought that his little brother is fine, because he can still tell his exact location. At last he comes to a clearing that not long ago had been the springboard for a battle between two families. The brother comes closer to the crater. He believes it is the result of the hero's technique, the wuthering hand. He is startled by such a persistent odor of blood in the place, which even causes him to cover his nose. For a moment, my brother thinks of the Zhang family. Before he can develop it, however, he switches to something else. His attention is drawn to the bloody footprints on the ground. He browses that they lead straight into the bushes. The older brother triumphantly greets the younger brother. However, something shocks him so violently that a grimace appears on his face. At this time, a light bursts out of the cave into the night void, coals crackling in the fire. The sleeping protagonist's face is illuminated by the light from the fire. He is laid out on a straw bedding near the fire, covered by a fur jacket. Xiwen slowly awakens from her sleep, opening her eyes. He looks up at the ceiling of the cave, and the place seems unfamiliar to him.
Wiping his eyes, he notices in his sleep that he is covered by his brother's cape.
In his fur collar, he discovers a note. The hero reads from it that his older brother checked up on him, but he doesn't understand why he didn't talk to him personally. The hero noticed the inscription scratched on the wall. The inscription reads, "Little brother, you're getting so mature now, boy. Way to go." He continues to stare, slightly confused at the message. Turning around, the hero discovers a sleeping girl at his feet. This situation takes the protagonist to the end. Xiwen really wants his brother to take what happened correctly. This is how the hero's adventures in the Qingfeng Mountains ended, as a result of which he perfectly mastered the techniques of thunder palms. After a few days, in the evening at the Wen family residence, a girl drinks a drink through a straw. The stranger who saved the hero's life sits outside their table. Finally, father decides to talk about the recent events in the Qingfeng Mountains. The Zhang family visited the territories of the hero's family, thus violating the borders, which is essentially an intervention. In addition, the main news was the death of 2 clan members. But conflict was avoided by writing it off as an accident. Father says that the Qingfeng Mountains turned out to be a much more dangerous place than they had imagined them to be, so the clan has to investigate the case. The older brother reports that when he was in the mountains, he found a corpse that he said looked as if it had been blown up from the inside out. The hero's memory constructs horrible images of Mr. The aura emanating from the corpse, the brother continued, was very different from that of the people living on either side of the mountain. But the father, looking at the hero, interrupts the reasoning of his eldest son, saying that the top of their clan is already thinking about what to do anyway. Having decided that enough talking is enough, all family members proceed to eat the food before it cools down. They began sampling various dishes from the table. His mother notes that during the 2-month journey through the mountains, the The hero was able to reach the 6th level. If his sister and brother do not make more efforts, he will quickly catch up with them. Father warns that students who have reached level 5 or above must take end-of-year exams. The hero is ready for this to gain access to more powerful techniques, becoming stronger, and at the same time increase their family's influence first in the clan. However, there is something else that the father wants to talk to his son about. Father recognizes that a blood contract brings the host a lot of benefits, so it was logical to make one. But spirit plants are far from often agreeing to such a contract. Xiwen doesn't like the direction this conversation is going in. His father states that the hero is too young, especially considering what happened in the cave. Suddenly, a strong aura began to emanate from the hero's mother. The brothers and sister look at their parents in embarrassment. The head of the family wonders to his wife what he said wrong. She politely replies that their children are growing up, so such issues should not be a parent's concern. Mother urges, disregarding the age of children in such matters. The children, absolutely embarrassed by these conversations, ask her to stop. It's morning in the Yi Yuan family's estate. The hero enthusiastically anticipates how he will rest after his fruitful work. By the way, he wonders if there is anything interesting about the young gentleman's belongings. The heroine says it will take her a while to learn the Lord's ring, and the hero doesn't rush her into it. When the girl has officially entered their family, the hero he states that they should get on it right now. The girl looks questioningly at the protagonist. She can't believe what she's hearing. Xiwen says that this is not something that is not natural, as they are bound by the bonds of the contract. The girl replies that she's not ready yet, but since they're bonded, she has to admit it. Finally, with a little more courage, she began to untie the knot on her robe. Crouching down, the hero leans back slightly. He declares that he's going to name the girl right now.
An awkward silence falls over the young men.
When asked by the hero why the girl starts to undress, she replies that the room is too hot. Xiwen states that it would be better if, even though the girl became part of the family, everyone thought she was their maid. However, even a maid should have her own name. She is forced to recognize the hero's rightness, wondering what name he is going to give her. Since everyone in the house called the girl Lin Yao, he thinks of giving that name. But suddenly a better option comes to his mind: Radish. The hero says he can't think of a more appropriate option. The girl, perplexed, just stares at her host in silence. He gives the choice of name to the heroine herself, almost calling her a radish, for which the girl punches the guy. The girl thought the hero's brain needed a little boost of herbal medicine, but he asks her to just let him know if she doesn't like something. Eager to forget the embarrassing incident, Xiwen puts a piece of paper on the table. The hero explains that it has all sorts of variations of her name written on it. The girl looks gloomily at the sheet provided to her by the hero. She begins to list all the alternatives to her name. Reaching a rarity, the heroine beats the host again. While the heroes were searching for a suitable name for the girl, night fell. After going through dozens of options, the protagonist already wants to give up and shift the responsibility of choosing a name to the girl. She suggests Baby Radish as a pretty good option. It seems to the maid that little girl is some sort of vulgar innuendo, which makes the heroine resent it. The girl declares that the Lord's ring can only be used if his blood is present. However, it was not difficult to fake it. Eliminating unsuitable options, she transformed the Lord's blood, and soon she would be able to open the ring. The hero decides to be curious about how the girl has such knowledge of human techniques. If she was in the mountains all the time, the girl replies that as a result of signing the blood pact, their souls have bonded and their memories have synchronized. Nevertheless, she continues, only basic memories remain, but she is certain that the hero belongs to another world. The character is a little embarrassed by the fact that he's never told anyone about this space. The girl asks if the hero would like to return to his home world. For a moment, the hero hesitates, apparently remembering his past. He answers the question with indecision. The heroine also pauses, preparing to say something. The girl says she made a pact with the hero, due to the fact that she decided they were similar in some way. The girl says that before that she was all alone, and no one cared about her at all. Back then, she just wanted to explore the world beyond the mountains, meet new people and become stronger so that someone would finally notice her. In recognition, the hero extends his hand to her, saying that he can understand her feelings. Xiwen declares that this world is full of beautiful things, though he has only read about them in books. The hero is sure that this is how it really is. The character continues that from now on, as they are bonded, they will be able to explore this vast and interesting world together. He declares that when he has a chance to return to his homeworld, the hero will definitely take the girl with him, if the girl is okay with it. Of course. The girl, smiling, gives a little huff of thought. She shakes the protagonist's hand as a sign of their cooperation, counting on it. The hero assumes the girl will have plenty of advice for him, to which she replies that she should really get into character development. Xiwen asks to stop feeding him herbs when they touch each other as it causes him to bleed. A few days later, in the main square of the Yi Yuan sect, the room is full of cult disciples. A man with a scroll in his hands pronounces the name of the protagonist. The one, very nervous, responds and puts his hand up so he can be seen better. The hero notices that he is too nervous and he should concentrate, because this exam is very important to him. Some apprentice, teasing the protagonist about how he supposedly doesn't look like a level 6 practitioner at all. The organizer declares that preparations for the exam are complete and asks the participants to proceed to the open area near the arena. Everyone agrees and starts moving. From the 3 arches, the exam participants emerge into a large square with bleachers on each side, and a battle arena in the center. In the stands, the hero is supported by his family. The hero wanted them to stop, because he is very nervous, and this only makes the situation worse. But even more frightening to him is the fact that the judge of today's exam is an old man. The hero's father and a certain elderly man are sitting on the balcony. Dad looks away, slightly embarrassed. He shows a thumbs-up gesture, which the character thinks is too conspicuous. The organizer announces the beginning of the exam, according to which the winner of the upcoming round will be able to take part in the final round. The contestants of the first round go up to the arena, waiting for the start of the... One of the opponents brags about his seemingly lofty accomplishments. He concentrates spiritual energy by forcefully pushing through the floor beneath him. The student self-asserts himself by saying that he is not as weak as others, so he will definitely pass the exam. The guy reports that the exam is just a stepping stone for him to battle stronger opponents. A character who is bored with a participant's conversations asks for it to stop. The young man acts disdainfully when touching the hero's hair. It seems to him that the hero is frightened, so he advises him to leave. Thus, says the hero, his main rival is a disciple on Houtian Peak. He suddenly grabs the boorish fellow by the arm and pulls him off the ground with a sharp movement. The hero is perplexed as to why he cared so much if the opponent is so pathetic. With tremendous force, he throws the student to the ground, causing the arena floor to spill over. The guy is lying there, unconscious from being hit so hard. The rest of the round was only felled by the shockwave. Xiwen is declared the winner of the first group of contestants. The arena is filled with congratulatory shouts from the hero's family. The cheering of the crowd echoed throughout the neighborhood. Meanwhile, in the hazy mountains of Qingfeng, at the site of the young master from Zhang's death, a man examines the crater. He's going to touch the bloodstain on it. His allies report finding no more bodies, most likely a credit to the wild beasts. The intelligence team is not as concerned about the missing body of the Lord as they are about the ring that once belonged to him, which is an important artifact of the Zhang family. One of them speculates that the ring could have been carried off by animals, of which there are many here. There was a silhouette lurking behind some bushes not far from this spot. The hero walks through the square, looking at the award for winning the entrance exam. One Wu Yun pill. Closing the prize box has no sense of victory at all. Sneaking up behind her older brother, eager to find out why this is so. The brother remarks that the hero has disposed of his rival with one punch. So now he's a celebrity. The hero claims that today's debut is not yet the top, so he should train harder. The brother states that his father was so happy that his hands were shaking when he handed out the award. He wishes his younger brother to try even harder to outdo him, and his father turns all his attention to him. Brother explains that the winner of the qualifying internal competitions will have a chance to join the ranks of the clan's core apprentices, which will give them access to more effective training methods and the opportunity to learn higher-level techniques. Pointing to his reward, the hero laments that these so-called more effective training methods are nothing but another pill to help improve the spirit. His brother is not surprised that the hero is not at all impressed with his reward, since he recently tasted spiritual berries, but informs him that the pills can be exchanged for spiritual stones. The idea that the pill can be exchanged for something more suitable gives the hero hope. He's so transformed he can't wait to see how much he can sell the pill for. A day later at the Yi Yuan clan's Merit and Virtue Square. The door to the store opens and a salesman is seen behind the desk. The hero rudely shoves a box under his nose, which contains a pill. The man behind the counter stares at the item in discouragement. The hero, panting, enthusiastically asks how much he can sell the pill for. The seller reminds him that he too is a member of the Yi Yuan clan, and is very grateful that right after the victory, the hero decides to frivolously exchange the reward. The character naively thinks it's a good idea, which annoys the employee. The vendor realizes that he can't tell the hero what to do. So in exchange for the pill, Wu Yun gives one middle-grade spiritual stone. The hero thanks the man and leaves the store building. A medium-sized spiritual stone falls out of the pouch into the palm of the hero's hand. Lin Yao states that this pill certainly cannot compare to it, but has to admit that its effects are still quite effective. The character realizes that his actions may seem frivolous, but he declares that he has carefully thought everything through. He explains that the amount of experience needed to reach the next level depends on the hero's current level, so the contribution to level up such a weak pill is negligible. However, the hero continues, this is not the case with martial arts. Xiwen explains that although he has made excellent progress in mastering the Thunder Palm technique, he has yet to master the sword skill he learned while in the mountains. The girl wonders if the stones are some sort of entrance fee to the space, but the hero replies that spiritual stones are also currency in addition to that. The young men stop, and the hero announces that they have arrived. The main gate of the commercial market looms in front of them. The hero explains that the market is a place where the Yi Yuan clan followers come to trade unused items, so finding the right equipment here shouldn't be a problem. Suddenly, something so appealed to the girl that she asked the hero to buy it for her. The hero is outraged that she chose something so strange. On top of that, he asks to be called a master next to other people. The bustling market square is bustling with life. A whole stack of books is spread out in front of the hero. The hero is scrutinizing some book. He complains that the book is just another basic level technique of obscure origin that makes no sense for him to study. The hero and the shopkeeper have a conflict on the grounds that the hero is allegedly a charlatan who does not pay money but reads secret techniques. The hero is puzzled how, according to the seller, he should have learned the techniques just by looking at them once. However, if he opened the space, he could easily learn the contents by heart. Xiwen seems to hear a rather familiar voice. A man is angry at the seller for demanding as much as 500 spiritual stones for a dilapidated book with only a couple of pages. The guy complains about the lack of justice, because to buy a book, the contents of which he only looked at once, is nothing but robbery. The hero recognizes in the furious young man his acquaintance, Wang Lei, whom he once met near the reservoir. The merchant advises the lad to treat the books with more care, as they are quite old and could easily fall apart from such heavy blows. Wang Lo remarks that the seller himself slipped the book in as he walked by, so he won't be able to fool him. The merchant interjects to ask if the buyer really doesn't intend to pay for the book. In a fit of rage, the salesman overturns his own counter with all the manuscripts on it. He knocks down a disgruntled customer and he falls to the floor. People begin to gather around, discussing the situation, not at all surprised by this fact, except perhaps for the main character. The stranger explains that the older brother of the rogue trader is one of the favorites to win the Nei clan's internal competition, and their uncle works for the local punitive authorities. Gradually, a fairly large crowd of people formed at the scene of the accident. The seller says he wanted to talk to Van Li in a businesslike manner as he considered him a wealthy man. But now his books are ruined, and he doesn't know who will make up for it all. The guy is outraged by the peddler's immoral behavior. He claims to be a martial artist as well. The merchant declares that the young man is an absolute amateur in terms of martial arts. So in order not to experience his techniques, he advises the guy to get money as soon as possible. A defrauded customer threatens to find out who's right by fighting with a shopkeeper. The hero, suddenly sneaking up from behind, asks Wang Lei to calm down and cool down a bit. He urges his comrade to give the case to the hero as he can confidently rely on him, which the guy is very happy about. To the salesman, the character seems very familiar, and he discovers him to be a recent winner of an entrance exam. The character reports that he didn't even realize he was quite popular. A passing companion of the protagonist helps the risen guy by healing his wounds with her ability. The character introduces himself as Xiwen from the Yi Yuan clan and wonders what kind of argument happened between the two of them. The merchant claims that what happened has nothing to do with Yi Yuan's family, but says that the boy was trying to steal secrets from the book Divine Gate. Before the merchant, not to be unsubstantiated, he demonstrates the damaged book. The seller points out a special seal on the book's cover, signifying that the book has been personally evaluated by the Yuan clan elders and classified as an innate martial arts technique. Losing his temper, the merchant begins to yell that even the deplorable state of this book does not cancel the fact that it contains martial arts techniques that the hero's friend allegedly tricked him into obtaining. The hero admits that this book with some secret techniques caught his attention. Suddenly, Xiwen gets a good idea. The speculator warns Van Lei one last time to pay up. Suddenly, the book seemed to evaporate from the merchant's hands. The seller looks at the protagonist with incomprehension, in whose hands the most valuable book has appeared. The hero mockingly asks if the seller really thinks this reading is a rare book of innate martial arts techniques. With these words, He begins to slowly disappear into the portal leading into space. Rudely calling the hero a brat of the Yi Yuan family, the salesman orders him to immediately return the stolen book. After finishing reading the book, the hero declares that not only is the book unfinished and there are only 10 pages, but a third of them are a preface, and one has a table of contents. The seller claims that the hero is delusional, because you can't know the entire contents of a book just by skimming through it. The hero stood still for a moment, contemplating how to explain this misunderstanding more successfully, realizing that no one else knows about space. He states that his comrade has also only looked at the book and could not have learned all of its contents in such a short period of time. The hero smugly revels in the fact that the crowd supports him in believing that the seller is only a common con man. The merchant begins to become furious that the support is alienating him, labeling the hero and his friend as brats. He threatens to teach them a good lesson to learn what it's like to provoke a merchant. A small number of allies surround the protagonist. The smiling expression on Xiwen's face indicates that he is somewhat unafraid. A huge flash of lightning, visible even outside the market, strikes the ground. Around the distraught vendor lay the sparkling defeated allies. The peddler pulls out a knife, threatening to massacre the hero. At the same moment, a hero appears right in front of the merchant's face, as if from nowhere, politely inquiring who he is going to deal with. A powerful charged kick from the hero throws back his foe, and he lands on his back a few meters away from the hero. Just as the salesman manages to lift himself off the ground, the hero is immediately beside him. The hero explains that the skill he used is called Thunder Hand, a basic skill in the Yi Yuan clan's library. He wonders why the opponent doesn't use his innate skills. The merchant becomes confused, as he has nothing to answer the hero with. Cowardly fleeing the battlefield, he shouts for the hero to remember that sooner or later he will pay for today's incident. In turn, the hero blasts him with a lightning bolt right in front of him. The hero courteously asks the crook to memorize the lesson he has been given today. He warns the merchant that if he ever sees him fooling people again, lightning will strike him on the top of his head. The crowd is in awe of the hero. Wang Lu marvels at how the hero has become so strong in such a short period of time. He offers to buy the hero a cup of tea and chat for a while together. The hero is going to a tea house with his friends, and a certain man is walking past them somewhere. The stranger takes a shabby book in his hand and says he wishes to purchase it, to which the saleswoman objects that the book is not quite in proper condition. The peddler offers the man to buy one of the books presented to her, and the book chosen by the female visitor to receive as a gift, but the man politely declines, saying he doesn't need such offers, as she needs the book directly. The busy streets are teeming with the number of bustling people. The hero's comrade explains that his family has a large trading business, some of which he could inherit upon reaching 4th level. The hero wonders why Wang Lei then continues to hone his martial skills if he has already reached level 4. Guy explains that the main branch of his clan, whose members get businesses easily, pokes fun at the side branch by calling its 4th level a sham. The friend despairs, for he can only get into the library by fighting. He can only look for someone who has well-developed fighting skills. The hero is trying to form his own opinion about his comrade, because he, despite his origin, is not neglected by servants, and does not seem to be accustomed to living in comfort. While we're on the subject, the hero begins. Rummaging through his pockets, he recalls a recent conflict with a merchant shopkeeper. The hero shows off a few of the books he managed to get his hands on in time for the turmoil. Xiwen wonders if his friend still wants those books for himself. The hero's comrade responds by agreeing to it. The hero explains that he has his own reasons for continuing to train. For now, he decides to stay here for a couple of days. The companion remarks that the hero's friend is only training to get business, to which the hero replies that not every person wants to practice martial arts. The hero is ecstatic about what a good treasure he managed to get today. The heroine immediately realizes that he is talking about a book of innate martial arts. Xiwen responds to the girl's question about the contents of the book by saying that he doesn't know what the book is about. The hero's companion does not quite understand how this is even possible, because he read her while in his space. The hero says that he could not understand the meaning of the book, as it is full of information, so he had no choice but to copy it quickly for the future. He fumbles around in his jacket pocket and finds the rock he traded at the store. The day has come for the next stage of the competition, the internal. There's a clamor of spectators in the neighborhood. The hero's comrade decided to attend his fight as a spectator and support his friend. The hero's older brother and sister are also watching the younger brother's fight, as if on pins and needles. The hero masterfully dodges the enemy's blow.
The opponent shouts out the name of the technique, Tiger Fist.
A huge fiery tiger ghost is looming over the protagonist. The hero declares that the enemy is too slow. Charged with spiritual energy, the hero is about to launch a counterattack. An elderly man wonders if it's true. The hero's father wants to send all his children to the inner sect of the clan. The father declares that as a parent he has no influence on their victory because they themselves are the deciding factor. In addition, the father continues, "This exam is a great opportunity for the hero to gain new experience and exchange techniques with martial artists." The hero's unconscious rival falls to the floor, having been struck down by the protagonist. Xiwen is declared the winner of this match. The hero's support group, consisting of his family and comrade, are actively cheering for his victory in this exam. There are bad rumors floating around the stands about the hero that he was pretty mediocre at improving. But in such a short time, he was able to improve his skills so much that now overcoming most of the opponents on the list won't be a problem for him. They say that artificial strength boosts like pills won't give the hero the basics, and soon, he should start regressing. So everyone doubts it's about them. The judge says that the father of the hero should not hide his admiration, because very soon he will be subjected to universal criticism, which, however, their family has already got used to it. The protagonist's father wonders how the elderly teacher's student is doing. Toth declares that his student's fighting is too boring, so he's not going to watch the fight. The hero goes along with his companion and asks for a spiritual stone to be given to him. The girl obediently fulfills Xiwen's whim and remarks that he was slower this time around. He replies that what is to be will not pass, and in general, the hero simply does not want to show his true strength. Releasing the energy of the Spirit Stone, the hero suggests watching the fights of other exam participants to gather as much information as possible. Xiwen inquires of his novice who his next opponent is. The girl explains that his name is Shifeng. He's ranked 8th in the top. He's an early level 7. He has a decent command of heavy weapons. He was disqualified 3 years ago for breaking an opponent's arm and was banned from the tournament for a year. The hero shows interest in who they're heading to now to watch him fight. The hero's companion looks at the lists and replies that he is a newcomer, and his name is Dongfangbai, and that another family advised him to take the exam. The hero discouragedly froze in place, eyes wide open. The battle arena is drowned in copious amounts of dust. A huge thug is trying to catch his breath after an attack. Suddenly he grabs the giant hammer beside him. The opponent claims that Dongfangbai is a coward who is afraid to fight. The hero is shocked by the fact that the guy doesn't resist the opponent's attacks at all. With confidence, yet extreme politeness, he asks his opponent to surrender. For otherwise, he will not be able to escape the end of the fight without injury. The enemy doesn't know what Dongfangbai is even talking about. The young man states that he has learned a new skill that has caused major internal changes. Therefore, he has poor control over his power. Boogie declares that he's fed up with all this talk, and that if before he wanted to just throw the kid out of the arena, now he's going to get rid of him. He raises the giant hammer behind his head, preparing to attack his opponent. A crushing blow to the ground, hitting right where the guy was just a second ago. Dodging a quite expected blow, Dongfangbai thought about his opponent's threats that he had threatened to throw him out of the arena. The bouncer haughtily wonders if his young man is afraid of him. Thoth replies with a smile on his face that he's not afraid of his opponent at all. He's just going to throw him out of the arena. Suddenly, there's a tremendous spiritual energy coming from the guy. The thug can't believe his eyes, for the young man has just used Kaji. The hero and his companion, being in oblivion, do not understand what is going on here. Another exam participant, who was in the arena, is startled and leaves the scene of the battle. A huge vortex begins to curl across the area, creating powerful winds. Gradually, the maelstrom subsides and eventually comes to naught. Dongfangbai's hand concentrated spiritual energy, taking the form of a spiral, and he was also enveloped by a magical aura. The guy drops his sword, and it falls to the floor with a clang. The young man warns his opponent of the impending attack and hopes that he is ready to repel it. And at the same moment, the floor of the arena with a rumbling sound begins to break through, and the crack in it is getting closer and closer to the bully. The hero is completely immobilized, being in total oblivion. A powerful vibration shock spreads throughout the entire area and the stands especially. The blow comes so hard that the liquid in the hero's father's bowl is splashing. Even the birds outside the tournament arena flew into the air from such a shockwave. The hero's father asks an elderly man outside if it's his student, but the master, in utter confusion, finds no words to say. Smoke billows into the sky from the attack. This picture caused an unprecedented furor in the audience, and all of them, with their mouths open, watched the further development of events. The hero admits that he should have been busy studying his future rival even earlier on. Dongfeng Bai watches his terrified opponent from on high. Rising up in the arena folded in half, he declares that since it is henceforth gone, there is no more room for the thug in it. The terror-stricken opponent, trembling with fear. To a standing ovation from the audience, the winner of this match is declared to be Dongfeng Bai. The girl reports that according to the information she has, the guy is at the 6th level of Houtian, just like the protagonist. The hero notices that despite their equal level, the opponent is much stronger than him. He says that he has reached the limit in perfecting the Thunderhands technique, which can overpower any opponent with a 6th level. The hero suggests that Dongfeng Bai most likely used a secret skill that allowed him to completely change his spiritual energy. Xiwen has to admit that if he fights him now, he will only lose humiliatingly. Some girl runs up to the winner and whispers something in his ear that leaves him surprised. He hurries the boy who came up to him to leave quickly. Lin Yo reports that he can't see what's going on there because the distance between them is too great. The hero and his companion are headed straight for the break room. The girl says she used divine sight to study her opponent's energy flow. She states that when he used the skills, the girl thought there was something wrong with his body. The companion asks if her hero is even listening, immersed in thoughts of how to defeat such a strong opponent in battle. In the break room, they are immediately greeted by a man sitting in a chair. He was pleasantly surprised that the hero turned out to be his next opponent. He apologizes for never thanking the hero for taking care of his younger brother Mayan. In turn, the hero wonders who the man is that is spread out in the chair in the manner of a gentleman. The girl explains that this man is Mayan, his next rival and older brother to the man he previously knew, Mayan. Xiwen states that the brother of the man in the chair cheated people in the market, and the hero taught him a lesson. The man proudly declares that the hero talks too much. The hero calls for a full effort in the next match if the man wishes to intimidate him, a future opponent that will undoubtedly do whatever it takes to emerge victorious. And he just sits there in his chair, staring after the hero as he walks away, running her hand inside her kimono, diligently trying to find something in it. Eventually, he pulls out a red energy pill with the words that he is the one who is going to teach the hero a lesson today. After a while, the long-awaited moment of battle arrives. The grandstand for the spectators comes into view. In a special audience box, the main character's father is bored completely alone. He drinks hot tea from a bowl to brighten his loneliness. An elderly man walks past him. The man asks the hero's father if it's really hard to hold such a high position. Every year that one must make every effort to get his children into the inner sect. The father coldly replies that his children will win the exam on their own. All he needs from them is support and wise guidance. The father suggests that this is perhaps difficult for the man, since his nephew lost first to his oldest son, then to his daughter, and today he will lose to his youngest son as well. The one, frantically angry, demands that this conversation stop. The hero's rival says Xiwen humiliated his younger brother in public. A man threatens to kill the hero today, and thus avenge his brother. The hero demands to be rid of this codswallop, for he realizes that his rival wanted to get rid of him from the beginning. Xiwen orders this scene to end and the battle to begin. The opponent wonders if his antics were so quickly recognized by the hero. He observes that the hero's brother and sister have dishonored him in front of everyone's eyes. The man threatens to unleash all his anger on the hero today and avenge those times. Before he can speak, his opponent receives a powerful lightning strike to the stomach. The hero asks for understanding, because today he is not in a very good mood and has no desire to listen to someone's whining. The opponent is exhausted by the hero's attack. The realization comes to him that if the fight continues like this, he will not be able to avoid trouble. The hero's rival tries to hit him with his club, but misses. Xiwen successfully avoids the enemy's attack with the ease typical of gymnasts. The hero notices that his rival has changed quite a bit and looks quite different now. He suggests that the spiritual energy of his opponent has increased even further. The man, wiping the sweat on his face, notices that the hero is a pretty nimble little guy. In an instant, the rival who had just stood opposite the hero disappeared. As if out of nowhere, he appears behind the hero. Xiwen barely has time to dodge the attack. No sooner does the hero catch his breath than his rival immediately closes in on him. The opponent takes a swing with his foot and kicks him hard into a block that the hero only just managed to put up. The shockwave causes the hero to fly backwards. In a hurry, he uses the lightning technique. However, the opponent remarks that this attack is futile. The tongue of lightning is about to seek to overtake his opponent. Lightning strikes a man and generates a colossal explosion. The smoke screen dissipates, and an unharmed enemy is revealed from it. The hero discovers that the enemy's spiritual level has increased again. The opponent is enjoying. Right now, he was in a state where he could defeat anyone, even Ye Feng himself. The opponent declares that today is finally the day when he will get even for everything with the hero. Xiwen is absolutely still watching his opponent's actions. The hero keeps his composure to the last. Finally, he takes a small step forward. Suddenly, his opponent finds himself restrained by electrical grids. The hero, without a fraction of wit, demands that his rival's bluster stop. The opponent became nervous, for this situation was clearly not in his plans. Xiwen again asks the man not to play dumb by calling him a lowlife, after which the enemy is struck by a powerful lightning strike. The main character's family of brother and sister are pleasantly surprised by this development. The older brother suggests that the hero set a trap by taking advantage of the smokescreen. The companion observes that such methods of combat suit the hero's style. The hero's attack was so strong that the floor broke beneath his feet. The hero clearly realizes that such simple tricks, he will not be able to defeat the opponent. Reincarnating into his highest form, he declares that he has fought opponents thousands of times stronger, so he has no intention of wasting his time here. A giant electrical discharge rushes towards the opponent. There are only seconds until the projectile collides with the opponent. The opponent's attack forces him to take defensive measures. The rival's gaze is filled with terror. However, the hero's projectile manages to break through the opponent's defense. A giant electric ball rushing at breakneck speed knocks down an opponent. Moments later, he is subjected to a kick in the back from the hero. Xiwen launches a lightning chain, and it securely restrains his opponent's movements. A powerful column of lightning strikes the enemy. The arena is obscured by puffs of smoke and clouds of dust. On the floor lies the immobilized body of an opponent. His hand slowly begins to envelope some sort of green aura. Suddenly, the man's hand sticks tenaciously into the ground. Slowly picking himself up off the floor, he declares that the hero's attacks are more like a tickle than a real threat. The hero can't believe his eyes, as his opponent's spiritual level is already at what increased. The rival informs the hero without a shred of doubt that he will not be able to stop him from now on. The enemy's weapons suddenly rise into the air. The batons, and more specifically the Imperial Jiani, fall right into his hands. The man, anticipating, declares that it is now his turn to counterattack. The hero immediately forms his electric sword. A tremendous amount of spiritual energy erupts from the enemy. Suddenly, a blackness came over him. He began to lose consciousness and fell to the ground. The hero's opponent lying on the ground convulses from the monstrous pain that suddenly struck him. The audience is perplexed by the hero's unforeseen fall. Even though he was in full health a moment ago, the hero watches the scene in confusion. A doctor is already rushing to the victim, who is in pain. The doctor examines the injured fighter and discovers that there are clearly visible bulging blood vessels on his palm. The doctor announces the final conclusion. The patient was a victim of poisoning. Upon hearing the news, the fighter's trainer immediately leaves his seat. Something between pity and disappointment flickered in his gaze. The hero, completely baffled by what's happening. Poor boy's mentor instantly descends from the spectator box into the arena. The teacher, disparagingly addressing the hero, makes a serious statement that he allegedly poisoned his student. The hero confusedly replies that he didn't do it. The mentor wonders if the hero really naively thinks everyone will accept his version of the story. The old man argues that no one but the protagonist could have poisoned his rival, for only he could have a motive. The hero denies the accusations and asks for an investigation before reproaching him for something he didn't do. The man asks the hero not to be forgotten, for he's only a little sheep, and he is the elder of the punishment hall. Xiwen succumbs to the old man's provocations and angers him. On behalf of the chairman of the punishment hall, the elder intends to issue his first decree: to mutilate the hero's spiritual energy, and with it, his ability to cultivate. The old man, trying to grab the perjurer, reaches out his hand to him. After deciding that he has already reached the protagonist, the elder finds that he has gone somewhere else. The man notices that the hero instantly dodges, avoiding the touch. The elder swiftly tries to disarm the intruder, but the hero easily avoids his attack. On the stand, scandalously galloped spectators bewildered by what they saw. The hero is absolutely certain that he is innocent of the attempt on his rival's life. And since the elder falsely accuses the hero, the other is going to put his best effort into it. The fireball crashes into the arena, exactly where the hero and the elder are located. The hero's sparkling hand is raised up so that the index middle finger is looking up. The rest of the fingers are bent down. The hero's hand, baffled by the fact that the attack was unsuccessful, is held tightly by his father. The father explains that he won't be able to protect his son should he start attacking him. The hero is clearly feeling remorse for rashly going to attack the elder. The elder is sarcastic about the fact that the main character's father couldn't just stand by and watch his beloved youngest son die. The elderly man declares that he is not afraid of punishment because he is the elder of the punishment hall. The elder declares the hero's low level of martial arts, and that if he is not responsible for the poisoning, he is in for some pretty nasty consequences. The hero's father is looking closely at something. With a sharp wave of his hand, he summons a strong wind. Medics are forced to cover themselves with their arms from such a powerful wind flow. Some white curl peeked out from the kimono of an unconscious opponent. Under the influence of the strong vortex, the roll flew out of the victim's pocket. A crosswind tossed a sealed paper envelope a few meters away from the man. As it fell to the ground, the envelope opened and everyone saw its contents. The red balls slowly left the envelope, rolling out of it onto the floor. The hero's father begins to explain that these pills are not drugs, but a drug known in the Yi Yuan sect as reincarnation pills. This drug can be used as an anesthetic or replace mana stones to directly send spiritual energy to warriors, providing an unlimited source of energy, continues Far. The elder begins to get nervous, for he had ordered his apprentice to bring only one pill. The hero's father notes the high quality of the drug, but has to admit that the forced increase in the stock of spiritual energy after the end of the drug causes severe pain and other symptoms similar to poisoning. The female medic confirms that the victim's meridians are indeed damaged, but no traces of poison were found in the body. The opinions of the spectators in the stands polarly change, and they come to the realization that Ma Yang was cheating to win the exam by using supplements. The elderly foreman clenching his fist what he mumbles about the substance in the pills. The hero's father points out that this medicine is given by the elders to their disciples in case of emergency, and most importantly, one pill at a time. The hero's father wonders how the pills in the amount of 3 pieces ended up in the bag of the victim. The elder hesitantly states that he can't answer that question, because the Hall of Punishment is still investigating the matter. The old man demands to stop defending his son, thus preventing the punishment hall's orders from being carried out. The hero's parent suggests discussing the problem with the guild, if he so desires. For a moment, the father pauses and draws in a breath of air. The father resents what's the big deal about being a loving father and protecting his son. The aura emanating from the hero's father is so strong that the floor cracks from the powerful column of energy surging upward. Father asks if the elder is really taking everyone here for idiots, trying to pass off the crime he and his brother committed as the truth. He declares that he is not so foolish as not to notice the old man's little tricks. The hero's brother and sister are in the stands burning with shame, feeling incredibly uncomfortable for their father, who is clearly overprotective of his son. Father warns that if the elder dares to harm his son again, then not only he, but all the subordinates in the waiting room will regret it. The hero's companion sits silently on the bleachers and sips a drink through a tube. Medics carry away the elder's poisoned nephew on a stretcher. The hero's father cautions that this is not the end, and that the elder should be more careful and discuss everything with his apprentice. He assumes that depending on how his nephew got the medicine, either he stole it himself or the old man secretly gave it to him, appropriate action will be taken. The old man grudgingly turns away from the hero and his father. Due to unconfirmed poisoning, Xiwen is declared the winner of the match. Audience excitement echoes throughout the neighborhood. The hero timidly thanks Ozt for protecting him from the elder. The father informs me that regarding today's incident, he will be waiting for his son in the classroom, so he will have something to say. He places his hand on his son's shoulder, demanding that he close the energy source around the meridian and thus heal himself. The hero claims that he's fine and didn't manage to get seriously injured in the battle. Before he could speak, the hero discovered a drop of blood on the sleeve of his kimono. A red liquid flows unimpeded from the hero's nose. After an hour at the family's homestead, the hero asks his father if he's already finished. Toth sets the bowl on the table, remembering that he wanted to talk to his son about what happened. The hero is told that there is no need to worry about nosebleeds, as his companion has already taken care of stopping the bleeding. Father wants to know if the techniques used by the hero this morning were natural martial arts. The character timidly confirms that the skill is a natural skill, and it's called Celestial Step, since it's the last one. However, Xiwen says he has only learned one step, the AI step. The hero says that Yin Yang is the sect's early martial arts that are natural. My son has a hunch that it's not first step. Father explains that the so-called first step is merely a way to allow people to learn and use this martial skill in the fastest possible way. The price for using it is the loss of the ability to perfect it. Fortunately for the hero, he used the skill for not a long time, however. The applications causes internal bleeding. The hero assures his father that the use of this skill was only a forced measure due to an emergency situation. His father wonders what kind of emergency it was that the hero could have been harmed if his father was looking out for him. Xiwen had to admit that there was really no situation in which he had to go to extreme measures. The father notes that since he was a kid, his son has never liked working out, and he and the hero's mom have never tried to force it on him. He reports that the hero's family is happy and proud that he started training on Qingfeng Mountain, signed the Blood Spirit Pact, and now he has also entered the final stage of the examination. Father has to admit, with absolute seriousness, that such an amount of accomplishment in such a short period of time is impossible. Although the hero, according to his father, is not related to him by blood ties, but he was brought up by their family since childhood, so his father knows everything about him. His father notices that the speed of the hero's martial arts training has long since surpassed his talents. And although the hero's personality remains the same, but the way he speaks and behaves lately gives the father the impression that someone else lives in his son's body. The hero is confused and doesn't understand what his father is trying to say with all this. The father states that as his parent, he would never hurt his child, and he would not allow others to do so either. Nevertheless, the hero must tell the whole truth. The hero's father makes a serious claim that he allegedly has the help of other worlds. The character assumes that his father knows about traveling to other dimensions, and that if he doesn't tell the truth, he will die. The situation is heating up, and the hero is trying to find the best words for the situation. The hero, bowing, asks his father to believe that the martial arts were obtained by him in exchange for hard work. There was no outside help or other unethical ways to get the power. And such astounding progress is due to the fact that he went through something that normal people don't go through. The father stares intently at his son, and finally gives out some sort of approval to everything that's been said. The hero's father allows the hero to leave him and go prepare for tomorrow's final battle. The hero still interjects to ask if this conversation is definitely over and if he can be free to go. His father lets him walk and once again cautions his son against using the first step skill, which is an emergency technique, during the competition. As a sign of obedience to his father, Xiwen bows down. But suddenly another thought pops into his head. He wondered if he could ask his father one more question. That one gives the agreement. The hero observes that the early martial arts of the Yi Yuan sect, whether it was the first step, classical martial arts, or pills, they are all items of rapid advancement. He concludes that something must have happened to the sect in the past that required the members to increase their fighting power. His father says that for now, the hero is only required to train harder and improve himself to reach the level of an inner disciple. Then the hero will be able to enter the guild, and when he is able to travel to all worlds, he will learn the truth of the history of these things and the truth of his life. The hero feels like he has just heard incredible things. However, he himself passed through another dimension to get here. Xiwen thanks his father for his guidance and informs him that he is about to retire, and the hero's footsteps gradually began to move away from the father sitting on the chair. Father closed his eyes, as if concentrating on something. Hearing footsteps approaching, he opens his eyes and looks around. The hero's mother asks if the hero's father told the hero the truth. The father reports that he has put some energy into his son's body, and of course the hero doesn't have those people. However, he is becoming more and more like his father. The wife puts her hand on the father's shoulder and tells him to have faith in their child, for surely he will make the right decision. The father cradles his spouse's arm on his shoulder for support. The hero swings open the door to his room and announces his return. Suddenly he finds himself thrown onto the bed. The hero is confused about what's going on. The girl puts her hand on his head, ruffling the hero's hair. She unbuttoned the hero's shirt. She puts her hand on his stomach. The girl sat on top of the protagonist, holding his head with one hand and touching his stomach with the other. Xiwen comes to be puzzled by what the girl is going to do. The girl gets up, however, as she had not thought of doing any such thing. The hero, having died of ardor, puts his head down. He notices a wound on his abdomen. Under the girl's healing technique, the wound heals quickly. The companion explains that when the hero's nose was bleeding in the arena, several meridians in his body collapsed. If this happens on a regular basis, it could affect the flow of energy in his body. She says that when the hero wanted to see his father, he was in such a hurry that the girl didn't have time to finish, but now the hero is completely healed. In this case, the hero thanks his assistant for the hard work she has done. The girl informs him that what the hero asked her to do is already done. Xiwen looks at the girl incomprehensively. The girl shows the hero the ring and announces the fulfillment of a request once given to him. The hero is genuinely excited about the new artifact, as it will make it easier for him to store his stuff. Xiwen is happy that his problems were resolved before the final stage of the competition even began. Suddenly, the girl takes the hero's hand. She says she's already transcribed the biological information on the ring. The companion explains that from now on, the ring can only be opened by the hero when he touches the pattern on the ring and says the words to meditate on it. The girl lets go of the hero's hand with the ring on it. She looks questioningly at the protagonist, as if expecting him to do something about it. The girl and the hero sit in complete silence and embarrassment. Suddenly, they are flung from each other to different ends of the room. The hero's companion reiterates that the hero now has access to his own vault. The hero in turn thanks her for the hard work she has done. The girl embarrassingly asks the hero to try the ring in action right now. Xiwen confusedly agrees to use the ring. Hero is forced to admit that his chance of winning tomorrow's match will depend on this ring. He touches the ring and it starts to glow. The ring begins to emit light rays, and the hero orders it to open up. A strong stream of light pours from the windows of the room into the street. The hero is mesmerized by what's going on. The girl discovers that the appearance of this storage ring strongly resembles something. He's exactly the same. This ring looks just like the in-game inventory. The girl had thought about it before. Though the hero belongs to another world, many things from here can be found in his life as well. The companion circles around the hologram. The girl wonders if the dimensions in which the hero is now and the one he came from are connected. The hero replies that it would be better to think about it after the competition. All the techniques ever used before, including those of the previous owner of the ring, are opened before the hero. Xiwen pulls out a book that once belonged to Master from the inventory. The hero notes that during the battle, the Lord mentioned these techniques to him. However, the martial arts he used were borrowed from someone else. The Zhang family prohibited those disciples who had not reached the 9th level from learning inherited techniques. The hero believes that this technique is very important to the Lord, since he had to kill his younger brother to get it. Closing the book, the hero rejoices that he was finally able to get the key to tomorrow's victory. The hero's companion assumes that he is going to greatly increase his power in a short period of time. The girl remarks that learning and developing so many different skills requires a huge amount of spiritual stones. And right now, the hero has a large supply of them. The hero looks at his companion confusedly, realizing that he does not have many spiritual stones. He looks pitifully at the girl, as if expecting her to help him. Suddenly, Xiwen thinks that a wealthy man like the young master must have a huge supply of stones in his storage ring, and the hero begins to hastily flip through his inventory. He frantically tries to find the coveted crystals in his inventory. Finally, the hero discovers a box in his inventory with spiritual stones in it. In the end, all that's left for the hero is to simply get the spirit stones. The girl calls out to the hero, because the latter, without thinking about the huge amount of crystals, clicks on the inventory icon. A powerful stream of rocks rushed straight out of the storage ring, filling everything around it. The girl was sucked in by the unstoppable flow of jewelry, and she sank up to her neck in the stones. Mired in the crystal abyss, a girl asks the hero to help her. Xiwen sat comfortably among his riches, subtly holding one of the many brilliants in his hand. Being mocked, the hero asks to stop calling him Xiwen, and from now on, address him as Great Master. The heroine notes that although the hero now has spiritual stones in abundance, their quality leaves much to be desired. The girl wonders why the gentleman would have put so many stones in a ring for storage, when it is sufficient to have only the necessary supply with him. The character, still in rapture, suggests that the man simply liked the feeling of being rich. Suddenly, the guy notices in the solid and nearby crystals some kind of plaque. He digs up an object and pulls it out of a pile of rocks. The plaque is engraved with Zhang Jie in hieroglyphics. The girl hypothesizes that the inscription on the plate is the name of the gentleman to whom the ring belonged. The hero does not deny the likelihood of such an outcome, however. Tossing the plaque out of his inventory, he declares that the name of the ring's current owner is now irrelevant. Leaving complacency behind, the hero decides to start training. After 2 days in the break room, the hero adjusts his clothes. He meticulously kneads the wrist of his hand. The hero closes his eyes to push away all unnecessary thoughts and focus on the upcoming fight. The companion asks how the young man is feeling. Xiwen has to admit that he has yet to use the techniques he has learned in reality, but even so, he is full of energy. Together, the hero and his girlfriend head towards the arena entrance. The auditorium is shrouded in audience chatter. The hero's brother and sister wish him luck in his upcoming battle. The main character's companion just sits silently and watches, sipping a drink from a tube. The hero turns his gaze to the box his father is in, and they exchange glances. He is absolutely confident that he will be able to pull off a victory this time, as he has prepared well. However, the protagonist is now alone in the arena and his opponent is not there for some reason, leaving the referee and everyone else confused. Dong Fangbai, on the other hand, is in the break room at this time. A hand hits the table so hard that a crack spreads through it. The young man is asked why he continues to use this type of fighting technique, despite the fact that his teachers forbade him to do so. The boy is silent, not knowing what to answer his master. Finally, he says that the students did not use techniques prohibited by the board. Mentor disputes that the advice on banning techniques because he has no idea that there are people like Dong Fangbai who dare to use them. The master insists that the guy is still too young, he should hang on, and in a couple of years he will definitely become an apprentice of the inner circle. The young man replies that he doesn't understand what this is all about, and on top of that, Yeqing can't wait any longer. Dong Fanbai expresses his gratitude to his teacher for his many years of caring for him and other sect disciples. But for Yeqing's recovery, the guy is willing to sacrifice everything. Sensei accepts the young man's aspirations but warns him, because if he really chooses this path, he risks losing everything. The guy explains that the disciples of the sect are constantly improving their fighting skills and reaching the top of their mastery not for the sake of eternal glory, but so that their family can live a long and happy life in prosperity. Dong Fanbai admits that this is why he chose the path of martial arts in the first place. The young man's teacher puts his hand out sharply to the side. The old man grabs the shameless man by the pecs and even swings at him with his other hand, wondering how he could have such thoughts at all. The lad, however, meets his mentor's gaze without a fraction of doubt in his eyes. The older man also looks at his student as if studying him. Realizing the seriousness of his intentions, he lets the guy go. Dong Fangbai silently bows to the teacher in appreciation. The master, without saying a word, watches the departing novice. How still young and foolish his student is, thinks the elderly mentor. Clear day. The lingering Dong Fangbai leisurely walks up the steps into the arena. The hero, already hoping to get off easy, is forced to admit that he can't win without a fight. The opponent first bows to the referee, and then greets the hero. Dong Fangbai studies his opponent with a steady gaze. The hero glares unhappily at his belated adversary. Xiwen suggests that the upcoming fight promises to be anything but easy. As both contestants have taken their positions, the judge begins. The final stage of the competition is declared started. Dong Fangbai muttered something quietly to himself about his opponent. The hero, unable to hear what the guy said, interjects. The enemy draws his sword, clutching it tightly in his hand, and responds by having the hero pay attention. The referee announces the start of the bout. The opponent concentrates and begins to focus spiritual energy. He does a high-speed leg kick. The hero reacts instantly and dodges the blow. It's so fast, it leaves an electrical trail behind it. The next move he makes is to go at his opponent. Charging his fist with spiritual energy, the hero is about to strike back. Dong Fangbai swings his sword away, repelling the attack. The opponent stabs the blade into the ground in a swift motion. The shockwave throws the hero backwards. The opponent, without wasting a second, aims for the protagonist. However, some force prevents him from shifting his position. The hero's electric wristbands clung to the legs of his foe, restraining his movements. Meanwhile, the hero has already had time to don his electric uniform. Xiwen focuses the spiritual energy in his hand, preparing to spew it out. Suddenly, a powerful stream of energy strikes his opponent. The heavens are pierced by a huge electric pole, the victim of which is the hero's rival. The hero's father's face is illuminated by a bright electric flash. The hero's girlfriend is mesmerized by what's going on. Dong Fanbai states that the hero's attack was quite powerful. The young man admits that facing such a strong opponent as the main character in the final fight is a great honor for him. The enemy slowly drags his blade across the floor, shrouded in a smokescreen. The hero is also forced to admit that his opponent is also good. However, he does note that the previous attacks were just part of a warm-up exercise. Pointing his hand forward, the hero causes electrical poles to sprout out of seemingly nowhere. Dong Fangbai, being completely calm, analyzes this situation. The floor beneath the heroes is breached by multiple electric shocks. A spent attack creates puffs of smoke in which the enemy loses visibility. Suddenly, an electrical flash flashes to the right of Dong Fangbai. The character moves unpredictably in a smokescreen, thus leaving the enemy in the dark. Suddenly, Xiwen's blade whizzed over his opponent's head. The enemy recognizes the direction of impact without delay, breaking the smokescreen around them. However, only the blade attached to the chain is visible in the dissipating smoke. The hero himself is directly behind the back of an unsuspecting opponent. Xiwen makes a swift dash towards the enemy. However, the enemy is not short on reactions either, and notices the approaching attack. Opponent successfully avoids the assault. The character observes that Dong Fanbai's reaction speed is so fast that he is like a lightning bolt. Xiwen jumps back to dodge the impending attack, and at the same time, he launches his chain at his opponent. Electric shackles envelope the enemy, and the one in the hero's electrical restraints remains completely immobilized. The opponent realizes that he is trapped and in a difficult position. After focusing enough energy, Dongfangbai breaks the shackles, and their links fly out in all directions at a tremendous speed. The hero falls back, and the enemy is given the opportunity to make a small respite. Opponent makes a wave of his hand, and a few meters away there is a bright flash and a shockwave that strikes the ground. The hero's older brother stares silently at what is happening, as if realizing how much of a dead end the situation is. Xiwen is shocked at how the enemy managed to discover the trap set by the hero. The electric pole is gradually dissipating. The opponent deftly denudes his blade by twisting it in his hand, and with a sharp thrust he plunges his sword into the ground, the battleground shuddering from the shockwave. Dongfangbai seems to see right through the protagonist and all his traps. The opponent clutches the hilt of the weapon tightly in his hand. The opponent adopts a fighting stance, warning the hero that he is about to attack. With a decisive swing of his sword, his opponent unleashes a magical crescent moon, rushing towards the hero. The hero's father is meticulously observing the fight. The hero's older brother rubs his hands together nervously, recognizing the staleness of the situation. He states that the enemy has been able to learn the technique used by the younger brother. The sister looks at her brother uncomprehendingly. She wonders from him if the hero doesn't use the thunderclap technique. My brother informs me that there are many ways to utilize this technique. The brother explains that even though his younger brother's martial art is rapidly developing, he has perfected most of the techniques on Qingfeng Mountain. Taking advantage of the opportune moment, the enemy goes behind the hero's back. Elder brother recognizes that battling the wild inhabitants of Qingfeng Mountain is really not safe. A strong kick from an opponent throws the hero off and he lands a few meters away. The brother believes that the protagonist has indeed fully learned and perfected the techniques of fighting wild beasts. Electric blades rise above the enemy's head. The brother points out that a characteristic feature of the hero's combat tactics is the use of traps. An electric wave is approaching Dongfangbai from the back at a colossal speed. In addition, the hero looks for the opponent's weaknesses throughout the fight, and then, after waiting, sharply reduces the distance and attacks. Dongfangbai identifies the hero's impending attack. Brother is forced to admit that such a battle tactic is effective against a wild beast, but its application to a real opponent may be futile if the latter manages to unravel it. Hero clearly can't keep up with his opponent's pace. In the last instant before the collision, it focuses a blob of electric spiritual energy and causes an explosion. The brother remarks that if the protagonist still hasn't realized that the enemy has guessed his battle strategy, things are not good for Xiwen right now. There are occasional electrical flashes through the smokescreen. The protagonist slides across the ground so that a sparkling trail is left behind him. He raises his head and gives me a disgruntled look. Covering the sun, the enemy pounces on him from on high. Xiwen focuses the electric charge in his hand, pointing his hand at his opponent. He shouts out the name of the technique, electromagnetic cannon. Dongfangbai smugly smirked. Their blades clash together, forming a multicolored energy front. The hero notes that fortunately, he still has plenty of energy to spare. But despite this, the situation is still not the best. Because the enemy is fast and selenium, if not for 2 days of diligent training, the hero would immediately lose the fight. In addition, the hero discovers that his combat tactics with traps are completely ineffective against his opponent. Xiwen is covered by an even thicker electric aura, and his spiritual energy level increases. In the current situation, the hero is forced to recognize that the tactics of battle must be changed. There are electric particles everywhere in the air. The pendant around the man's neck starts bouncing erratically. The gold bracelet on the woman's hand begins to jingle. The earrings begin to swing from side to side like a pendulum, and even the blade of his opponent's weapon trembles in his hand. Dongfangbai feels like his hands are shaking. However, taking a closer look at the protagonist, he discovers that he has mastered the magnetic force on his own. The hero extends his right arm out to the side, and electric vines begin to twist around it. Suddenly, there is an electric ring of growth around the hero. The enemy is going to take action on it. There's a smug smirk on the hero's face. Xiwen takes a step towards his opponent. In an instant, the hero is right in his opponent's face. With a powerful energy stream, the hero irradiates his opponent, and the electric aura that was tightly covering his body slowly slides off the hero.